Computers, noun, technology, microprocessor. This is the Imperial Schools of Honor podcast. I am Josh Folan.
And I'm Jay Baxtron.
And we are going to be bullshit about the formative years of console gaming as we revisit the periodicals that covered it again. Today we are getting tucked in tight for bed with our My Pet Monster and Capcom's 1990 release of Little Nemo the Dream Master on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Emulation disclosure, I played on Nestopia on my PC with a standard controller piped in via USB, but as I'm thinking about and saying this, I'm kind of regretful I did not use my advantage because I think that arcade stick would have been really helpful in hindsight.
But, no, man, that's cheating. Yeah. And I played the exact same way. So.
Okay, word. Please rate and review the podcast. We have a kind of quasi-new review. Matt Gould likes to communicate with me and with us via Apple Podcast reviews, and he has updated his yet again. And the new update reads, Josh's history of American football presentation in 4th grade inspired my history of American basketball presentation a few years later in that same class. Listen to this podcast so it can inspire you. And how about that, Jay? We are encouraging the minds of tomorrow with our bullshit. Who'd have thunk?
Love it. It's why I get up out of bed every day.
Right. To make the young minds of tomorrow blossom via our bullshit here on this podcast. So, be part of the ISOH movement. Give us validation on your podcast platform of choice in the form of a rating or review, and we will also read it here on the pod. What are we jamming on now? Jay, what are you jamming on now? Vampire Survivors, I presume. I think I heard one of the CAGcast guys talking about this. I think this is familiar, but by all means, tell me about it.
Absolutely, man. So this is an indie game. It's on Game Pass, of course, but it's something that wasn't even really on my radar, despite being involved in all of the things I am at work. But then all of a sudden, like Phil Spencer, the Xbox CEO, had been playing it for like reportedly 100 hours or something. I'm like, what is this?
They were
game?
saying it was like some wildly addictive shit. Yeah.
And it came up in other work meetings when like people had it as like their team or their team's background. And so I'm like, all right, I got to check this game out. And so, yeah, it's kind of like just your standard roguelike game where you go, repeat it through patterns, through several levels. But it's oddly simple. Like you can't, like none of your buttons do anything. The only thing you're doing is moving around the screens and with waves and waves of enemies just coming at you just constantly. But your choices on what pickups you use and what build you use as you're like surviving these enemies is really fun because as it seemed at first like the type of game that I was turned off by because like things like Hades and Mother Gunship Forge and those kind of things had really unique upgrade elements every time you go in. Like Hades had the great story layered in, and so both of those games were amazing. Undermine was really fun, even though that had less of a purpose, but it definitely had like levels and you kind of understood what was going on. But this game, because like your X, Y, A, B, and buttons, left, right, trigger, they do absolutely nothing. You're just moving around. I was kind of like, wait a minute. Because I spent the first 5 minutes like wondering what is happening and why the buttons didn't seem to really do anything. And it's really all about the pickups. But it gets really addictive because they layer in so many more elements. Like you find you're actually finding survivors of these vampires like in these coffins, and when you do that you pick up a different character, and even though it really just changes the sprite, they sometimes come up with new power-ups, and then you learn later on that like, oh, at one point you can actually combine 2 power-ups and evolve it, and then you become have a superpower, but then you compare them with other ones, and there's more to the game that keeps being uncovered as I play. And so it went from like this really basic thing where you really are just moving around and in that respect, like it's really not that hard, but it's so fun and I want 100% it now. Like, I'm hooked, man. I don't know what else to say. Like you should definitely check it out if you want one of those games where you need to just kind of relax, zone out a bit once you've gotten used to it and you kind of know like great builds you can use. it's great for relaxing, like after work and de-stressing. 100% recommend.
A game where you're being constantly swarmed by enemies, being relaxing, huh? That's interesting.
But I mean, it's like for example, you have the King Bible, which floats around you as like a floating defense mechanism, but it does damage. And you have like a garlic because vampire survivors, garlic repels vampires, and it just like radiates outside of you. And once as you level it up during your run, it gets bigger or stronger, and once it morphs, like it may like flash all the enemies on the screen and like suck in all the gems, which levels you up further. Or like the little knife you throw, once you get it leveled up, it turns into like a mighty sword, which just like zips around the screen, constantly destroying everything. So like you'll have waves. At first there's only like one or two enemies coming at you at a time, so it's really easy to kind of just maneuver out of the way while your projectile of choice bounces around the screen and hits whatever it can. So you're trying to make sure that when you start out and all you're doing is throwing a bone or something, that it hits something, gets a gem to level you up so you can throw 2 bones the next time. And it kind of it sucks you in once you realize all the possibilities and options available. So, and I've Googled it and I found out other things which I have not found yet, supposedly. So now I'm like, I got to keep playing. I thought I was like already at the top, but apparently there's more to find, and super addicting.
I believe that's how the CADcast dude was describing it as well. That it was very just can't put it down kind of thing.
Yes.
I believe he said he 100% in it too, actually. I think he said he did.
I didn't even look at it at that level at first, because I was just kind of playing it, kind of understanding or trying to figure out what to do, where to go, because it doesn't really seem like there are objectives. But then now that I'm looking at the completionist kind of checklist, now I'm like, okay, I see what we're going for here. You're just kind of going after the objectives, which I like that. I like lists sometimes.
Did you ever beat Hades?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I fully threw that. Josh, unacceptable.
It got so boring to me.
Oh man. Once you beat it,
boring and tiring. Like, it was physically exhausting. Like, for my hand. I mean,
such old man gaming status, Josh. Come on.
I beat Resident Evil when I was actually doing the things. I can do the things. I just don't want to hit a button over and over and over again. It's not.
Yeah. Man.
Okay.
But after that, I actually finished Jedi Fallen Order. Like, I was so excited. Like, I played through a lot of it, and then other games came out, got distracted, whatever. But I wanted to finish it before the next Jedi game came out, and so I just jumped in, figuring I probably had like half the game left. But I really was like right there at the finish line. I didn't even know it. So I was super excited. Cannot wait, especially given that it's canon with the Disney's like overall Star Wars storyline. So super excited for that one to come next.
Okay.
And then
that's not the Lego one, right?
No. This is like the real story driven. Like, they don't even have, from a HUD perspective, there's not really anything there. So it feels like you're just watching a show, like you're participating in the story as you're fighting. Like, it's definitely tough. You can raise the difficulty and make it like really sweaty if you want to, or just kind of, you can make it storyline mode where the enemies are much easier. You have that variability, which is great, because I played it normal most of the time. And then at the very end, I was like, this is taking too long. I just want to finish the story, like, so that I don't miss out when the next one comes out, so.
Word.
Awesome from that perspective. And then being home for Thanksgiving with family, man. So we went home. We had so many devices. We brought our Oculus. We brought Switches. I had obviously the xCloud gaming for Xbox.
Did you get your parents VR?
Not my parents this time, but like pretty much everyone else. So it was a blast. We played, definitely Beat Saber, but we actually played a lot of Switch.
Gosh, gotta talk your parents into it. You gotta talking old people into putting it on. It's so hard to do, but once you get them in there, it is so rewarding to watch them. I've already went through the whole thing with my grandma. Yeah. It's all right. Yeah, it's so rewarding to watch them like get it. It's incredible.
I have no doubt. But we actually ended up playing Super Mario 3D World on the Switch quite a bit, just because it's 4-player. and having a lot of family around, we're like, what games can we play the most of people with? So we played this Lego game, another Lego Switch game that was up to 8 people. So there were like a bunch of us playing at once. It's a very simple game, but we had far more fun playing Super Mario 3D World, just because apparently there were DLC levels. We beat the game before. Jesse told me about it, like a year ago. We already beat it, but I didn't know there were additional levels to find. And so having 4 people playing at once, so much fun.
I know what Mario 3D World is.
On the Switch? Oh, man. It's just like, if you picture a combination of Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World, and then,
Was this one of the main, is that like...
It has eight worlds, kind of like you would expect, like a cloud world.
Is that the one where you can turn into the cat?
Yeah, that is the one where you can turn into the cat. Yeah.
What did I play? I played some of that shit on... What is it? I think that's one of the ones in 3D in Mario Maker, perhaps?
Yeah, it's included in that for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. I think I fucked with it a little bit on there.
Yeah, it's weird. The whole cat thing is weird to me, but
yeah,
it's still fun,
I couldn't. It was I struggle. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I played the main game in something. I don't know what the fuck it would have been. Maybe it was just levels on Maker. I don't know, but yeah, I did the climbing. I didn't. I was not. Was not a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
that's the from the, what is that? It's from the not the Wii. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, I think it was on the
Wii. The Wii U. That's what it is.
It was on the Wii U.
The Wii U, right? Yeah.
But like the Switch version, man, had a blast.
It's Mario. I'm sure if you fucking get going.
give me 8 worlds, different biomes, and
it's wild to hear that you can play 4 players at a time.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean Mario, obviously Luigi, obviously Toad, and Princess.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that idea, man. Word.
But yeah, but keeping up the VR, we finally got a chance, Courtney and I, to play some Carly and the Reaper Man.
Oh, great! That's great. Good, right? Such a good couples game. Such a good couples game, dude.
I was a skeleton, and Courtney was cracking up because like she changed my appearance, and I had like a neon like mohawk and stuff, and she was just cracking up. So I was like, wait a minute, how are you? Like, just the character, the sprite of Carly is really cool with like the electric neon hair and just the different perspectives. Oh, so good, man. Such a good game.
The teamwork shit is. It's fucking it's just so good. Like
I
said, especially once you get far enough where like I said, things catch you by surprise, and like I said, it's so when the one person thinks one thing is one way, and the other person doesn't know that it's that way. It's so good, dude. It's so fucking hilarious. The I don't know, the spats that can happen as a result of that. Like, what the fuck do you mean?
That's a great thing, man. I mean, yeah. There are times, especially the first time we realized that I could see floors and blocks that she couldn't. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, there's nothing there. I'm like, what do you mean? It's right. You're telling me you can't see this? And I was like, oh, okay. I think we're getting it now.
That's so good. I want to say, I mean, we still haven't beat it, dude. It's such a long game. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know what percent. I mean, I don't know. I want to say we're in like the high 70s, maybe 80s. But I mean, obviously that's quite a ways to go compared to I guess relative to how long we've been playing. That's quite a bit of content,
I'm glad there's more content. I was afraid that I thought it was going to be a shorter game. Yeah.
Oh, dude, there's shit at the end. It's just it's you sit down, you play it, and you're like, okay, and like it's it's a long run thing. You're like, okay, we're just gonna knock out a couple levels, whatever, maybe.
Right,
and then you sit down, and then like you'll start a level, and like you can see, you can kind of look around and see the scope of it, and you're like, no, bedtime. Like too much. Still too much. Yeah, no, it's fucking. It's a really, really, really good game. It's the same people too. Who the hell made it? And I was like, when I realized who the developer was, like, oh shit, they've made a few good games, and I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But that developer, really good job, and I would like play anything that they make as a result. I think they just have like a really I like the storytelling vibe in it is really good. Like talk to those birds and shit, and then when you meet some of the later, some of the shit is heart wrenching, dude. It's, not quite like Spiritfarer level of emotional response, but some of this, they'll like drop little hints, and then when it winds down at the end, and you do that little thing that lets the ghost go, like, and they kind of like drop the bomb about what their actual story is. Some of them are like, fuck, that's fucked up, man. So yeah, it's really, really good storytelling, and just the world building is great. Mechanics, it's all good.
It's fascinating the art, like the art style and the colors, because I like it. And I'm into it, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a great game, a story, that we're playing, and then you talk to the crows and you read the signs, and you're like, whoa, this is heavy, man.
Yeah, it's dark. It's dark as fuck. Yeah, it is, and it's like it does that thing too. That's kind of, it's kind of, that fucking Pixar tactic of like building in adult themes but masking them in a way that a kid can experience them anyways. It's like a really, really well woven range of storytelling experience, or the ability to experience it rather. Yep. Really good. Cool. I'm glad you got into it. It's a great game.
Yeah, it's one of those games that we had on the back burner. I was like, come on. I was like, we have these VR. Let's do this. This is going to be the couple's event of the evening, and it was so much fun. Much fun.
Awesome. Cool. Fucking
yeah, man. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. What about you? What have you been jamming on?
So the only thing I really have to talk about is the Myst Walkabout course dropping on the 15th, and it is absolutely fucking magical. Really, like I talked about how I was kind of really fired up about the puzzle mechanics being woven into putt-putt gameplay and how they would like implement that, and it's fucking great. There's, it's still kind of, it's a little bit of that once you know it, and there's no replayability to the puzzle solving, which you missed you once if you're really miling off Myst, of course, but it'd be nice if there was some variableness to it, to where, I don't know, it's hard because as a putt-putt player, you're trying to get the lowest stroke count, obviously. So you want to get to a place where you can, you know what's going to happen, and you can optimize it. You're trying to optimize your score. So true. I don't know. I almost want to say maybe there should be 2 game modes where there's a randomizer effect to where the puzzles kind of fucking, the way they work out is different. So you can play it that way if you want. So you always kind of have the crazy zany randomness to it, or if you're just trying to, there's a straight mode where you're just trying to, what's going to happen and how can I best tackle that for the lowest score. I almost want to say there needs to be two ways to get the most out of it. There should be 2 ways, and maybe that's something I'll drop into the fucking mighty coconut comment box.
So limited replayability, perhaps, on that course.
Well, because it's fucking, it's putt-putt and it's hard as fuck and there's crazy shit going on, and even if you know what's gonna happen, it's still
you gotta execute
hard, and you got exactly, you gotta execute, and you gotta, it's putt-putt, so it's gonna, the physics are perfect, so it's just hard. But it would be cool, like I said, if those puzzle elements to it were always had the same potential to throw a monkey wrench into your run, but that's probably a video game player asking for too much. Anyways, the ball hunt is definitely difficult. I couldn't find 2 of them on my first play, which is not usually how I roll. I think I might still not have found them. I think there might be 2 that I still haven't found. But either way, I didn't get them all the first time, and that's good.
That's not that's rare for you, isn't it? I feel like you always get them immediately.
Right. So the hard course is fucking absolute next level. They flip the puzzle functionality. The whole time you go through it, it's one, the kind of the expected physics of how the puzzles work is one way, and then when you go into it on the hard level, they kind of flip that on its head, and it's so basically the easy course is about hitting switches to change the course layout And the hard course is more about avoiding switches that worsen the layout. So like instead of trying to implement mechanics, you're trying to avoid things, you know. And it's a nice, it's a nice way to, you know.
That sounds absolutely terrible and terrifying.
The hard one is fucking, oh god, it is just absolutely brutal. The putter hunt too is great. It only required getting 14 of the 17 book pages, which that's cool if you play Myst, you know, like what you're trying to find in Myst. What you're really trying to do is go out and collect those book pages to make the book to finish the story or whatever the hell it is, right. And that they do that perfectly as the putter hunt thing, you know, on the hard courses. So that's cool. That's a cool hark back to the original game narrative. But yeah, so I got the putter with only 14 of what says 17 clues. So I think there's additional hidden shit somewhere. And like I also found this ball, like not a golf ball, but like an oversized ball, like tucked back behind something. And I don't know a way that it's been implemented into the game in any way yet. So I think there's some extra hidden shit. Like I've gotten, you know, there's a way to, which is another cool hark back to the original game. There's a way to raise the sunken ship that's on the dock where you start the game. There's a sunken pirate ship there, and there's a way to raise that. And I've done that, but I've gotten nothing out of it, you know. And I feel like it's the kind of thing that probably has more of a payoff. But I'm not, honestly, I don't know that for certain. But, you know, either way, to have that kind of even, you know, I don't know, whatever, just experience or like level of like curiosity, I guess, about a putt-putt course is just, you know, it's just, they're fucking killing it over there. They're just fucking killing it. Nice. Yeah, so that's awesome. We got to jump in and play that. That's fucking cool. And then, as behind me says, there's a new demo campaign dropping on the 15th of this month. And yeah, just in time for Christmas. And there's a new barbarian character in it, which is pretty cool, like a melee thing.
What?
Art for him, art for him looks fucking awesome. And I think the boss is the king. Maybe I said that last time. I don't know. But the boss is the Elven King, I think, which is, you know, like all the like the little when you first go into the game, and it gives you that spiel about whatever the story world is. Like that's what they're talking about is the Elven King. So I think it's going to have, you know, I expect it to be climactic in some way. I'm really looking forward to that. So, you know, I'm fired up for this shit. And Amber on the fucking marketing team randomly reaches out to me the other day, and she's like, "Hey, I don't know if you know, we got a new campaign dropping." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I know that, Amber." Like, cannot fucking wait. And she's like, "Well, do you want?" You know, she offered me early beta access to it. And, you know, with an embargo date for the 9 p.m. the night it drops, can't talk about it. I'm like, fuck, of course, mouth shut, no problem. So she's like, okay, great. And she like gives me she tells me that like the way they do this is they authorize your account for this app that's kind of like their beta version of it, separate from the regular app. She's like, okay, so what's your username? I give her my username. She's like, okay, it should be on your app library now. And I go in there, I'm like, Amber, I don't see it. It's not there. she's like, oh, fuck
me, Amber.
Yeah, she's like, well, you gotta actually search for it. It might not be there. I'm like, no, I'm searching for it. I'm telling you, I'm not an idiot. I know I look like one, but I'm not as big, as stupid as I look. Like, it's not there for sure. She's like, okay, let me talk to the dev team. She talks to the dev team. They're like, it's supposed to be there. It looks like it should be there on our end. We don't know what's happened. All the other content creators are able. If this is happening with anyone else, I'm like, fuck. So yeah, I couldn't figure it out. We couldn't figure it out. We troubleshot a bunch of shit and could not figure out why I can't fucking see it. So yeah, I actually, despite the offer, have not been able to play yet, and I guess I'm gonna have to wait till the 15th, which is such a sad day, and proof there is no God, Jay.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's brutal.
Yep.
When I saw your background, I was like, wait a minute, have you played it? Like what? What are you?
I thought I was going to be able to.
Seen it in the Discord, yeah, that it was coming.
Yep, bummed, but
well, that's all right. I'm going to send you an iCalendar invite for Thursday, and we'll be there.
Yeah, all right, word. I'm fucking down, absolutely down. And so yeah, that's all I really like. The only things really to talk about that I actually have. I have been like it's I don't know, it's funny buying, like getting games. It's funny how, I don't know, my game buying process, I guess is what I'm talking about here, is so funny to me. Well, I don't know, with the Oculus stuff, I'm much more freer about it, and I'm kind of just like, I'll try it. Like, first of all, the costs, they're not that expensive compared to what I've been paying for video games for some time. So I think that's part of it. Is just like the cost isn't as high, and I'm also just have a more experimental approach to this. I understand that, like, I don't know.
It's just different. Games one at a time instead of the subscription service. I know, I understand.
Right?
You're living in a stone age. I get it. That's fine.
Right. Well, that's the only way they're going to offer it to me. If they're going to offer me, if that's the only way to get the better games, then I'm willing to succumb to it. But yeah, I mean, and I also think that part of it is because the trailer for a VR game, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's not the same thing. Yeah, it's not the same. Like, you cannot even begin to get how it's going to be. You have no choice
but to experiment. And like,
right. Yeah. Which is really cool. Some of them have started doing actual demo that are like fully functional downloads you can do. Like, there's one I played. Actually, yeah, I should have talked about that. I think it's called City Folk or some shit like that. It was really cool. It was like a kind of
Tell me you played Animal Crossing in real life, walking around in VR.
Oh, that would be fucking incredible. It kind of has that
a slimmed down version
aesthetic vibe to it, yeah. But I would say it's more of like a builder, like a Sim City kind of builder. You're like building this town, but it's in a kind of like space deal, like outer space kind of feel, and you're kind of like building in all directions, and there's like, you gotta like get the power to connect the things, and then you gotta like get your little minions that come to the place to move. You gotta like build domiciles for them to move into so they can work out of them. You gotta have things like each kind of character has certain, like the one type of dude likes bananas, so you got to build banana things around the town to keep him happy, like a banana bench and a banana whatever, just things to keep him happy that are banana oriented, And then like there's another one that's like hot dogs. That dude likes hot dogs, so you got to like build shit to keep him happy, So a really cool mechanic in that regard, and it's like, yeah, this like really wacky kind of builder thing, whatever. And the point being that it had like a 20-minute download version that you could play 20 minutes full go through the whole tutorial and actually play the first level, and like it's nice. Just so much obviously better than and like I haven't bought it yet, but I probably will. It's pretty fun. I kind of got I got a little bit dead ended on the level I was playing, or I actually ended up getting a couple levels into it, I think, but I ended up dead ending on it, and I was kind of like I didn't buy it right away because I was like kind of frustrated about something, but it's good enough to play for sure, and obviously if you buy it, you'll take the time to figure out whatever the fuck it is. I couldn't figure it out, So yeah, City Folk, I'm pretty sure it's called. Either way, that has a demo, and that's fucking awesome. But yeah, trailers are fucking useless. So that's the thing too. Like, you can't get, like, you have to buy it, And actually, and I don't know, maybe Microsoft has this too. I'm not suggesting that Oculus is standalone with this, but Oculus has a good. You get 2 hours of play, you can get a refund if you want anyways. So, like, if you really hate something, like that Townsfolk Tale or whatever it was, the RPG one that, like, everyone was saying was kind of pretty good for an RPG, but it was only $10. Like, that's weird that an RPG, it only cost $10. And sure enough, it was like, it was shitty as fuck. A long time ago, I downloaded that, and I got the refund, no problem with that. So, they have a pretty good refund policy, so that's part of it too. Anyways, my whole point with this being, I keep, like, getting onto the brink of maybe buying that Atari 50th anniversary bullshit. And like, I've watched the trailer. I have sat last night. I played some Subnautica for whatever reason. I was watching the Cavs game and I couldn't put the headset on, so I had to play some flat screen caveman gaming. So I was playing Subnautica for a bit, and I went into their store and I was looking at it's $40 for this thing, and like, that's fucking too much for some Atari games, but everything I've read, that this is the first, like, in the spectrum of these compilation things, this one is done at like an elite level compared to the way they usually are. Like, it's got like a really good, it's presented as like a museum kind of homage thing where there's all these videos. I've seen the trailers for it. Has my boys David Crane and Gary Kitchen from Activision fucking talking, in a bunch of the Atari, mainstays are in there doing interviews talking about this shit. And they have both the original versions of the game and then these like remastered modern versions too, and I've like the Yar's Revenge, I guess, is really cool, the newer one. So, there's a lot of effort into it. Obviously, the aesthetic is there. I don't know if it's got like a build your own arcade kind of thing. It should. I don't know why, but like
Pac-Man Museum Plus.
Right, exactly, right. So that's what I'm hoping it has, and I cannot decide. Honestly, I think that's the thing that I'm not. That's what I was going to ask. Have you seen this, or / did you buy it? Like when you mentioned you were home, I was like, "Ooh, did he buy that Atari thing?" So like I'm not sure if it has that. It does mention. I have seen it mention that it has like the overlays even that were on the arcade cabinets. Like the actual, like when you're looking at it, it's like looking at the actual arcade cabinet. Even down to whatever bullshit would have been on the glass,
right.
Which is, that's really fucking cool. So it seems there's a lot of great shit with it, but $40 for some Atari games. Like, I'm reading the reviews, and that's like, the negative ones are exactly that. Like, it's cool, it's awesome, but $40 for these games, like, it's still a game that you play for like 5 minutes. You're like, okay, I'm good for this now, like all Atari games are now. So, yeah, I can't get myself to spend the $40 on it, even though I want it.
It's funny you mention that, because when I was home and we were playing the Switch, it was advertised on the Switch, because I think you can just buy a version of it for that. And
I think it's cheaper on the Switch too. I think it's only $30 on the Switch, which also had me thinking about it.
But I would, me, I'm not going to buy things on the Switch first. I never do. I only jump on that for like multiplayer family stuff. But the fact that it was up there had me, of course, just like, reminded me that it was out there. And so I looked at it again, too, and I was like, yeah, but it's still that same thing. Like, I would look at those games, but none of them are really like, I would sit and play this for a while again, like that to that degree. I've already bought a lot of the Atari games, even even the Pac-Man version is in Pac-Man Museum Plus that I play. You know what I mean? So I have ways already of playing some of those games. That's like, this is cool. I just don't know if it's worth that money. So,
right. Exactly. It sucks too, because they don't have any of the Activision games, even though they're talking to Gary and fucking David in the fucking interviews.
Man.
Exactly right. I mean, I would say my top, I don't know, maybe that's extreme. Maybe like 12 of my top 15 Atari 2600 games are Activision. So like, to not have that in there is also, a huge attractor. Yeah. Even though, I love Yar's Revenge. I think they might have Adventure in there too. I'm not even sure, but what the game list is. But there are some Atari releases that I like, but most of the really good ones, the River Raid, Chopper Command, Pitfall, fucking Keystone Capers, Kaboom, like all those games are all Activision. For that not to be in there is a huge attractor too. But right. Okay, well, I think we solved my conundrum then, whether or not I should buy this shit. I wrote, should I buy this shit in my notes here? And I think the answer to that is no, based on our conversation. So I'm glad we had this discourse, Jay. Now, let us talk about Little Nemo, the Dream Master on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Sounds good. That's the Mushroom Forest theme from Little Nemo, bringing us in. Let's go.
Okay, synopsis. Little Nemo receives a royal invitation to visit the castle in Slumberland. Is he dreaming? It seems the princess is looking for a new playmate. When he arrives, he is told that King Morpheus has been kidnapped. Nemo sets off on a wild adventure to rescue the good king and restore peace to the land. Anything can happen in this realm of imagination. Little Nemo even learns how to get a ride from the local creatures so he can pass through the roughest parts of Slumberland. And it's a pretty dumbed down story, I would say. I guess you'd expect that, given the younger skewing target demo. But, whatever. They have it there. Well, what type of game is this, Jay?
Oh, we all know. I mean, come on. This is a classic platformer, man. Like, one of the most classic platformers, in my opinion.
Capcom in full effect. It is very Capcom, for sure.
Fully Capcom. Let's go. I mean, gotta love it, though.
I was surprised. The release was September 1990 in North America, and then it got early December releases in both Japan and Europe, and US getting the love first is a rarity at the time, but I guess it makes sense given the subject matter. Mm-hmm. And the cover art is some great-looking Disney-esque illustration of the little boy character Nemo riding his bed through the sky, his cat hanging off the back of it and looking stressed the fuck out. And there are some dastardly alligators flying in overhead and a nefarious anthropomorphic tree looming over him too. And they throw in some buzzwords and italics up top, state of the art and high resolution. It's very 1990. Computers, noun, technology, microprocessor. It's just like fucking, I don't know. Fucking make your head spin with some technology stuff you don't understand. Like, oh yeah, I'll buy it just because I don't get it. Yeah. The edition I dug up has a stripe at the bottom that says there's free Mega Man stickers inside too, and that's pretty hot.
Gotta love Mega Man.
Yeah. So the back of the box has the synopsis I read earlier, which is more expansive than the few sentences on story in the manual, and that's cool. Premier Worldwide Arcade Designer is up top on the back here too, and yeah, Capcom is really feeling itself with this title. I think there's a thing in the manual that also suggests they have that emotional stance about it. And there are 3 screenshots. The one shows Nemo riding the gorilla, and that's, I think, a good call as far as attractive screenshots go. The manual is a tight 16 pages, gets color cover and black and white innards. It's in the show notes, as I always do on that front. Page 2 has a special message from Capcom. This is what I was talking about a moment ago. Reads, "Thank you for selecting the exciting and fun-filled Little Nemo, the Dream Master. This is the latest addition in Capcom's library of children's titles, following such hits." Which I love, that's great verbiage. Right? Such hits as. Yeah, such hits as. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what that makes me think of. It's like, I don't know. It's like I feel like it's the dude from The Simpsons. The McClure or whatever. You might know me from that Troy McClure from fucking whatever. That's what it makes me think of. Anyways, DuckTales, Rescue the Rangers, and Adventures of the Magic Kingdom are the games they list. Little Nemo continues the tradition of action-packed, family-oriented games for the NES. Little Nemo, the Dream Master features colorful, state-of-the-art, high-resolution graphics. We at Capcom are proud to bring you this thrilling new addition to your video game library. And yeah, that is just above and beyond the usual "you're lucky to own this" boastings that you get from developers in these manuals. So
I love it. They're just like, yeah, you love our shit.
You love our shit.
You're welcome.
There are 3 whole pages of this already slim 16-page manual dedicated to advertising the 3 family library games mentioned in that opening letter too. And I don't know that we've seen ads like that in manuals yet. So
I do not recall.
We're all going to hell in a handbasket. Page 9 explains how you interact with things you encounter in the game. You have an endless bag of candy at your disposal, and that candy can be employed in one of 2 ways, or either of 2 ways. Creatures that you can turn into or ride are taken control of by tossing them 3 pieces of this candy, and then they will blow a bubble, and that is your cue that they are safe to jump onto. And then the other way you can use it is if you can't assume control of an enemy sprite or a sprite that you encounter, the candy will just stun them. And it only stuns them, though, and it does not kill them. And I would say this is absolutely fucking useless. They can still hurt you while they're stunned, so it's not like you can go through them or anything. So their being stunned and in your way is of no benefit whatsoever. And it's not like Little Nemo has this, you can't jump over anything, like your jump is not.
It is not a Mario jump.
It is not a Mario jump, so you're not jumping over anything. So yeah, it's almost like, whatever, they had to, I guess the candy had to do something, so it stuns enemies, I don't know, and we can't kill things because this is a fucking kid's game, so yeah, it's family-oriented. Family-oriented library title, so yeah, I don't know, it's just frustrating. Like, the first few times I try to use it, I'm like, what the fuck? This has no purpose at all, but whatever.
It's fun. It's fun, it's candy.
Right, yeah, right. Don't even sweat that part of it. Just fucking play the game. One of the few gripes I'll have, but it was a gripe. And then page 11 has an assumable creature breakdown. I always love the breakdowns. They list here a hermit crab, a gorilla, a hornet, a frog, a lizard, and a mole, all pictured. And there was much suspense for me at this stage, whether there would be more in-game that are not pictured here. Spoiler alert, there are not, but still a nice selection. And that's it. No tips, no nothing in here. Just fucking pretty straightforward.
Super basic, man.
Yeah. Get to playing the game. So talk to me about notable history with this title. This is obviously, like I said, there's an underlying IP that I didn't know a lot about before I started fucking with this game. So I imagine there's probably some cool shit to talk about.
Right? Yeah. So, I knew none of this. Like, it's based on a Japanese movie that is based on an old comic strip that originated in the 1900s, man. Like...
Hold on. There's a Japanese?
Yeah. Yeah, it's based on a Japanese
Film?
movie that's based on an old comic that originated. So, but originally, so the Japanese movie that came later, obviously, but like way back in the day.
What year did the Japanese film? I didn't know there was Japanese
like
version.
1950s, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, so a long time ago. That's wild.
Yeah,
okay.
it was a while. Copy. Yeah. But yeah, so like Nemo originally appeared in a 1904 comic strip called Dream of the Rarebit Fiend, and then got his own spin-off series in Nemo and Slumberland in 1905. And it would run through 1927 under various names. And, there's been like little projects here and there over the years that will pop up with the IP. But this, like the game, is really the most notable to me and like a lot of people outside of that Japanese kind of movie. But more importantly, Josh, did you know that Slumberland, which just came out with Jason Momoa.
Yeah, they were talking about this shit. Yeah, like when I first started posting about this shit, someone posted something about Jason Momoa. I'm like, who is Jason Momoa? I don't even know who that is.
Nemo, it's Little Nemo, and he is Flip. Like, I was doing.
Isn't that Aquaman? That's Aquaman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Like, I was looking at him, and I was like, Slumberland, and immediately my antenna went up. I was like, wait a minute, it's 100% the Little Nemo story.
I know that it's just, or not just, but it could very well just be that we're playing the game. I've been looking at IP stuff about this, yada, yada, yada. So now I'm noticing it. But I feel like since we started fucking with this game, I have seen this shit about this IP a bunch of times, man. They were talking about they were talking about on the fucking Catcast. They were talking about, it was like they were discussing how we're at a place where a lot of early 19th century, the way the trademark IP laws and shit work, a lot of that stuff has slipped into the public domain now. So obviously, cunt Hollywood is just doing whatever they want with it, and they're not even crediting the original creators with as much prominence, I guess, as they should be, given that they created this shit, and they're taking the time to do fucking material on it and just use it, and they're not properly crediting. And this was one of the things that they talked about was Winsor McKay. And I've heard his name and shit about this IP a bunch of times in the last month or so that we've been fucking with this. And just, I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if it's because simply that it's now on my radar because I'm looking at this shit, or it just happens to be happening now, which is very weird and topical.
Awesome timing. It's literally awesome timing because I'd seen the advertisement for the movie a couple times, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, Jason Momoa, obviously, he's fun in movies. This looks like a fun movie to watch with the kids. But I didn't understand, I didn't connect it. I was just like, I'll have to look in and understand what this is actually about, because I would just see little 10, 20 second kind of teaser trailers. But then, yeah, man, looking at it, I immediately was like, wait a minute, Slumberland, he's running around with a little kid. Hold on. And then I looked and read up on it, he's Flip, she's Nemo, and yeah, that's exactly
what it is. It's a female.
I think so. Maybe not. I assume.
Haven't watched it.
It's a kid. I don't know. It's Nemo. Whatever. The kid is named Nemo. I think it's a girl. Whatever.
Okay. Word. So yeah, I it didn't even occur to me to look for that. I didn't really clock what they meant because, again, I wasn't even sure who Jason Momoa was entirely when whoever mentioned it on the Facebook page. But so yeah, that's interesting to hear. There's a new one. So the 1989 one? Did you know that existed?
No, I didn't know that existed either.
I didn't know that existed either.
To me, this game is the most popular thing about Nemo, that there ever was. I knew the comic strip. I knew it was way.
Given the timing, I would consider this game a advertising vehicle for the film that I didn't even know existed. Like I said, this was in Nintendo Power. I knew about this game. I'm pretty sure we rented it. And even with that going on, and me being, 1990, I'm 9 years old. I'm definitely young enough to still care about an animated feature film of the scope that I think. It's hard to tell retroactively how big something was at the time. It's just if it didn't hit you when you were a kid, it just didn't hit you. There's just no way to go back and experience that, of course. Yeah. So like I'm not sure whether there were ads, they just flew by me. I have no idea, no way to know that really. But I watched the movie. It's free on Tubi right now, so you can watch it with ads. And it had, like, I wouldn't, and maybe not quite Disney tier or even like 5-0 Goes West kind of level of, I don't know, just gravitas, like, I don't know, just like magnitude or quality, however you want to qualitatively assess it. But like watching it, I think as a child, if I watched that film in 1989, I think I would have some really fierce nostalgia for it, the way I do for a lot of those Disney movies and the 5-0 movies and the movies that I did experience at that time. Like, it had enough to it and enough quality to it and enough, like, I don't know, just something. It had the, you know, whatever, the sparkle, the shine that you would want out of a major feature. You know, and it's got, like, if you look at the voices and shit, the people behind it, like, there was money put into it. The film was written by Chris Columbus, who, I mean, I don't know if that, do you know who Chris Columbus is off the top of your head, just out of curiosity?
No. But I mean, yeah, point of clarification. By Japanese film, I meant this one, like this animated one.
Oh, the one that I'm talking about. That's So okay, so that's 1989. Yeah. So was it like, I don't know? It's obviously not Japanese language. Was it Japanese? There was just a Japanese production company or something.
It came out in Japan first, obviously. Really? Yeah, it came out in Japan in '89, and then in the States later.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, we got it in. Let me see, where did it go? Yep, Japan in '89, and the United States in '92.
No shit. Okay, so that explains it. Okay, so
that's what I meant. Yeah, so it came out there. Someone's like, "Oh, it's
that's fucking." Well, then it's even more insane that Capcom released the game in the U.S. first and not Japan. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, that's interesting because it was written by Chris Columbus, who, I mean, if you know movies, he has an insane writing and directing filmography, dude. He wrote Gremlins and Goonies. Mm-hmm. He directed Home Alone and Mrs. Doubtfire, and just, I mean, he's just, you know, he was like one of the quintessential 1990 like child-oriented or young adult-oriented filmmakers, both in a writing and directing capacity, and producing too. He's got a shit ton of producing credits too. Actually, I auditioned for him once back in NYC. I'm pretty sure it went disastrously, if I recall correctly. But anyways, fucking. So, you know, that's a really big name to have behind it, and he wasn't. And this was after he had written Gremlins. And, I mean, he was like, this was not like some little formative thing that he would have written before he popped. You know, he had already done Gremlins, Goonies, Home Alone, not quite yet, but almost, like, right there, about to make that. So yeah, I mean, he, you know, they paid money for, like, I think I read the budget was like $40 million for this or something. So like they spent some dough on it. Yeah, might be exaggerating about that, but I mean, it was definitely a big budget thing. It was not not some little bullshit indie studio fucking crazy thing. Like, this was like they put some dough behind it. So yeah, so it's I mean, I watched it, really true to the video game. Or, you know, I would say, or maybe vice versa. I don't know. Video games true to it, however you want to word that. But like, they're fucking, like, the storytelling is like almost 1-to-1 align. So really good job of that. Yeah, you don't get, like, it was weird to me because I had already played probably the first 3 levels of the game before I watched the movie. So it was weird. I know, just a weird order because, like, you know, there are still some discrepancies. Like, the biggest discrepancy, I think, was the film has this squirrel. He's got a squirrel sidekick in the film, like with him at all times. It's like his best friend. So the idea that's not in the game to me is really fucking weird because basically everything else is. Like, all the little Walmart greeters at the beginning of the stages and shit in the game, like, every one of those is like
they are.
Yeah, they're like helper characters in the film when he's trying to get to Nightmare Kingdom or whatever the hell it is. They're like riding on the bed with them and helping him out and shit. So like, that is, again, you know, well correlated. So the idea that like his best friend in the film is not in the game is weird to me. And I get that, you know, to have like a Tails type character that would have always been present would have been a big ask on the NES, I'm sure. So I'm not suggesting that it needed to be that, but that they wouldn't even work him into the gameplay as maybe like the thing I was thinking is maybe those black void bed interstitials between the levels where he jumps into his bed and his parents bitch at him and shit. Like, maybe just have the squirrel... I don't know. Just the idea that it wasn't at all there, anywhere, to me, was super weird because it's such an omnipresent part of the film, you know? So that was interesting. But otherwise, yeah. Yeah, but a very, very fucking good adaptation, I guess, of the film, I would say. So yeah, it's yeah, and like I said, the kids definitely would, you know, Zion might be a little old for it, but the others would probably love it, age bracket wise. So yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend it.
Nice.
Word. Anything else history wise?
No, that's it, man. I was just super excited that I get the opportunity to watch a very modern take on it very soon, like while doing this.
So that's not out yet, or it is out yet?
I think it either just came out or it's about to come out, like one of the two. Like I think it actually just was released.
Word.
So we'll see. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'll have to check that just for comparison purposes. I'll probably take a look at that.
Yeah.
That is the Cloud Ruins theme, getting us into our playthrough of Little Nemo on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And we start with the title screen. Or before you even get to the title screen, actually, we get a cinematic, and it fires up right from the rip. And it is the stuff of NES legend as far as artwork goes, I would say.
Love this.
Artwork quality goes, I should say. So it starts on a black card, or a couple black cards. The first saying 1905, and the second New York. And then it cuts to a beautiful shot of NYC late at night, and I can best identify this viewpoint as being from way south on the Hudson River, I think. Like down... Like even like out of the bay even, I think. Like down Jersey, I would say. Because the Statue of Liberty Island is kind of like way off to the right there. You know
That's definitely a Jersey view. Definitely.
Yeah.
Because the way it's twisting, yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Agreed. And so, yeah, the bridge that we can see would be over the Hudson, the West River, separating Jersey and the city. If it were surviving today, like if it were a bridge that is surviving today, I should say, it would have to be the George Washington Bridge. But that wasn't built until 1931. So, yeah, this kind of sent me down a tangent on, like, what bridge would that be? And doing a bunch of fucking bridge research about NYC. So, like, I know, like, it wouldn't be, like, that's the only surviving today bridge on the West River. So, you know, that does not mean, and I could not find in my semi-quick searching around a list of no longer present bridges that would have been on the West River. So I couldn't just consult a list like that. I know that there used to be at 69th Street, it was called the 69th Street Exchange on the west side, that is a decommissioned, or it's like it literally just fell into the water, and in like typical NYC or customary NYC fashion, perfect NYC fashion, they just put a plaque on it and called it a historical landmark instead of cleaning it up, which is funny to me. But yeah, I know that's there because it's right by ABC. So when I used to go eat lunch down on the 72nd Street Pier there, and I walk by it all the time. So that was one of the cool things in NYC when someone would be from out of town or something. That was always something I would take them down. The pier was cool, and then also just that historical. It was literally, it's just like a bunch of, I mean, like it just fell into the water, dude. And there were like wooden fucking things sticking up out of the water. Still, it looks like some shit from an apocalypse movie or something. Like really, really cool landmark, I would say. But yeah, so so my point being, there are bridges no longer around that could have been over there, and maybe it's one of them. And like I said, I couldn't find a list of that, but that's my best guess as to what that would have been, because it obviously could not be the fucking George Washington, given that it wasn't built for another 26 years. So
that was a fascinating tangent to go down. I didn't think of anything like that.
Yeah, that's how my fucked up mind works. The oldest surviving bridge in the city is High Bridge, which was built in 1848. And that goes over the Harlem River from 174th Street in Manhattan to 170th in the Bronx. And it's just like it was shut down for a long time as far as anything. It was just, again, it was steel, so they couldn't just let it fall in. I guess is the only reason that it survived, probably. But eventually, they decided to like clean it the fuck up and make it safe again. And now it's a pedestrian walkway, like a historical pedestrian walkway that people can use. But I never walked over it. I've never walked from Harlem to the Bronx. It never occurred to me to even think to try that.
I've definitely taken the train between the two, and I think I've seen that. I think I've seen that walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, there's obviously far less of a skyline in this particular shot of NYC, given it's 1905, prior to a number of buildings being built that are there present day. And so you have that skyline shit and the bridge and what have you, and there's a huge full moon sitting in the starry sky above, and a large airship silhouettes in front of it as it passes over the city, and a sleepy prologue track plays. We cut from that to a child asleep in his bed, and then a shot of him approaching his window as the airship descends down in front of it. Really cool shot, too. And then it goes from that to a two-shot of the kid speaking to a somewhat creepy, in my book, circus pixie type. Pointy hat with a ball on it, court jester get-up kind of feel. And Messenger is the character's name, and the exchange goes like this. "Hi, Nemo, I've come to invite you to Slumberland." Nemo replies, "What?" "The princess has chosen you to be her playmate." Nemo, "Wow, really? But if she's a princess, then she must be a girl, right? I never played with girls before." Messenger goes, "She's not just a girl, she's a princess." Nemo goes, "I bet she's still a girl." Well, and this conversation, I think, is verbatim in the film, too, and it plays out pretty good. But the messenger replies, "Well, anyway, she asked me to give you this present." Nemo says, "A present? Really? What is it?" Messenger goes, "Candy." Nemo's like, "Oh, I like candy. Anybody smart enough to give me candy can't be all bad, even if she is a girl. Well, I guess I can go as long as I don't have to kiss her." End scene. Which that's good, it's well done. That's a well done, that both an adult and a child can laugh at.
Right. Good music, good graphics. This is a freaking
it's beautiful
cinematic opening. Like, let's go.
So then we cut from that to another short cinematic of the airship rising up above the clouds. What's behind Jay right now, what was behind both of us last segment. And then it comes to the title screen that has its own tune as well. Has some nice ornate framing, well done title treatment. All of it is elite window dressing for a 1990 video game, I would say. And if you let this sit there long enough, a demo of the first stage will fire up. So it's got a demo as well. So getting into the game, as far as controls, HUD goes, start pauses, select turns the player back into Nemo when he is in an animal form. So you can do that at will, that's cool. A jumps, B is the action button. Throws the candy when you're Nemo, and then when you are one of the creatures, it's described in the manual as this button does its natural defense, which is an interesting choice of words. And contrary to most platformers on the NES, Nemo cannot jump on things to frag them. He takes damage from any bumping into anything, basically, that moves. Even the friendlies, before you convert them, will hurt you. So everything is dangerous, which I guess is applicable given he's a child. The HUD is pretty cute and succinct. It's got icons for life and key counts, a life meter, and an icon showing your candy, and then it has the level name as well down there. So you get that, and then you get after you hit start, you get a short scene of Nemo running to jump into his bed on a black card with the dream, that's what they call the levels in this game, dreams, up above in simple white font. This also has a real cute little music cue of its own. This one is called Mushroom Forest. So you cut to the level, and in these levels, it's weird to me how some of them are like this, some of them aren't. So it's I don't know, it's probably just literally not paying attention and not caring as far as the developers goes. But some of them, you can walk forward on your own to interact with the Walmart greeter, or some of them, it automatically does it for you. Yeah. Well, you'll still walk forward, but it does it automatically. So it's interesting that that's not uniform throughout. But on this one, yes, you can walk forward on your own, and there's a hobo clown character waiting to greet you, and a chat exchange appears down in the HUD. This character says, "Hey, little boy, what are you doing here? This place is too dangerous for little boys, but if you've got your mind set on staying here, I should tell you a secret. Many of the creatures here will give you a ride if you feed them candy. You can ride for as long as you like. Press select to stop. Also, many doors are locked. You will need to collect a different key for each lock in order to get through. By the way, my name is Flip. And that's you watch the film, Flip is a major character, so it's funny that he's the first of the greeters that you encounter, actually.
Yeah, and this is Jason Momoa's character in the movie, so it's like, oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, and he's very, like I said, I don't know if I said it already, but he's a hobo clown character is like the vibe, like one of those with the fucking pack on the
stick. Like
what the fuck are those called? Those have a name. I can't remember
they?
what it's called. Yeah, they have a name. Fuck.
I don't know. This is I'm tying my stuff up and carrying it with me stick from like all the cartoons as a kid.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. That character. Yeah, that was a very prominent fictional archetype of the time. You know. But yeah, those things have a name. I can't think of what the fuck. Something sack, like a ranny sack, gunny sack.
Gunny sack.
Like anyhow, so this is a forest that you're in here, the level, but with mushroom trees instead of, well, there's still some regular trees in the background too, but the ones that you can climb on are kind of in the foreground are big, huge mushrooms, and you can climb up into the caps of them. And there's, a bunch of traditional greenery strewn about too. It looks fucking great. The enemies you see here are snails. They got spiky shells on them. They'd hurt you even if they didn't, so it doesn't matter. But those things are everywhere. And yeah, every level has its own dedicated 3-minute musical score. So Capcom was not fucking around on that front, as you'd expect them to, with the music. So yeah, each one has its own unique score, and they're fucking all fantastic. And I think we heard this one going into the last segment. The Mushroom Forest one was the first cue, the first segment break cue we had.
The song's been stuck in my head. I've just been like singing the ditties over and over. Like,
well, this one actually, the cloud one is probably the one that did that most to me. Nice. Maybe partly because that level was a motherfucker too. But that when I was going through the music this morning, you sent it over. I was like, yeah, that one's definitely fucking. That's one of the major ones. So very shortly after you have the hobo encounter, your first tameable companion, the frog, is bumped into, and it's an extra cute frog. I would say they use the Pixar trick of large emote-worthy eyes on all these things, which is
100%.
Good character.
That's what you
good character design. Yep. And it's stationary, so it's hard to misconstrue as an enemy. Like, everything else is moving, so when you first bump into this, it's just, I mean, they do move, but it's kind of like sporadic and limited movement, so they do a good job of making it stand out as something like, oh, maybe I need to, just... I guess it's also in the manual too, but it's not like kids are reading those. So yeah, you throw it the candy, and so you throw its first one. You throw the first piece of candy to it, and it stands up on its hind legs to catch it in its mouth and chomp it up. So again, just kind of differentiating the response and kind of cueing you like, oh, I should do that more. So after the third piece, it stays on its hind legs and goes into what appears to be a coma. Its eyes closed, a snot bubble coming out of its nose, and it just kind of does that until you jump onto it, and there's a quick cloud of dust reminiscent of like a Merry Melodies cartoon fight, right. The signaling the transition. And in this case, it's Nemo wearing the frog costume. He's not riding the frog, he becomes the frog. You can see his eyes and a tuft of hair poking out of the frog's mouth opening in the suit. So he can damage you if you run into him before he's fully satiated with candy, so watch your ass. I already said that. And then in this form, the frog form, you can jump much higher and farther, and it's got like a really cute belly flop posture when he jumps, with
his arms back. It's just like it's great.
And then and I would say they do a good job with this with all of them. There's like a give and a take to this power or this creature that you become, and in the frog's case, your mobility is your walking speed is so fucking slow. So you can jump far and high, but if you just are trying to move something or move under something, maybe is when it becomes most notable. When you couldn't jump, and plenty of the levels where you become the frog will work that on you to add challenge. He moves very slowly.
Yes.
But you can, the biggest maybe bonus of the frog on top of just the increased jumping mobility is you can kill things by belly flopping on top of them. So that's clutch, obviously.
If you hit them right. Not on the legs or something like that, because you will still get hurt.
Yep. So as the frog, I was inclined to take the high ground, which led me to 3 keys found up above the mushroom caps. before you run into what is in the frog form or as Nemo a dead end. So this is why when I said I just fucked with it, this is where I hit, and I didn't even see the mole down below, I don't think, for
really?
whatever reason. Or maybe I did, but I didn't register. I hadn't read the manual, so I didn't know that was a friendly. So, yeah, so I got dead-ended here when I first fucked with it. So, I don't know. I consider that a good thing that, like, I don't know. It's not... Maybe it's the first instance maybe of what will become a reoccurring theme of this may be a kid's game in theme, but this is not a kid's game in challenge.
No.
This game is hard as fuck.
It's great, dude. It's so good. Like the fact, it's funny to hear you say, like that you kind of skipped a gopher, because I watch playthroughs. Obviously, we have it up while we're watching or while we're talking. But like I went to the gopher and went down and went like a definitely a different route altogether, and had to like double back with the frog. Like I didn't have any difficulties, but I just I guess I just didn't continue jumping at first with the frog. I was kind of down below, and saw the gopher, and I ended up like going through everything and was like, "What did I miss?" And then had to get the frog and go back.
Yeah, and this game does a lot of that too, where it does a great job, I think, of it's a platformer, and like there's a certain expected linearity to that type of game, particularly of this era. And this game does a really good job of, by way of those creature transitions, turning it into a non-linear game. And that, I think, is really boundary pushing game design for the time, because again, this type of game is usually much more straightforward. Even out of Capcom, there's so much of this that is reminiscent of Mega Man vibes. So like, even Mega Man doesn't do that, and Mega Man is all about using your tools to change the environment, and yada yada yada. So like the fact that even Mega Man, I don't feel, had that level of like kind of back and forth in the level playouts that is really interesting that it was here present in this game.
It's funny though, because at first I felt like it was very straightforward. I felt like whenever you ran into a new friendly, you kind of knew what you were doing, and it was kind of like, wow, this is very straightforward. But then as I got later on, I started thinking maybe it's just because I knew I kind of knew what to do next, because I remembered what to do next, like instinctually. Because definitely later, that was not the case. I did not feel like things were straightforward later. So.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Maybe baby steps in the early days.
Right. So there is another transformation opportunity here in the form of a mole down below that cliff that you can't jump over. And he's sticking up out of the ground wearing a miner's hat. And directly down below it, you can partially see a key buried in the soil, which is obviously a great job of suggesting that this mole is the key to getting to that key, and you should try befriending it. So, you can only do this by like, and that was part of the thing too. Like, it didn't occur to me like, okay, I got to switch out of this back to Nemo, and then you can tackle the mole. So that's interesting as well, that you have to like make the choice to give it up. And that's the thing. Like later on, when you have these levels that have a lot even less of a linear feel to them, like you can fuck yourself by getting rid of that animal before you want
like,
to, you know what I mean?
Do I want to keep that animal?
Exactly right. So like, again, like it's so hard to make these games anything less than just fucking slam your head through a wall straightforward. So like that level of like indecision and path choice given to the player, again, really, really impressive for the time and the game genre. So very cool. So, you switch out of the frog, become Nemo, then you can do the 3 candy thing for the mole, and the same thing happens, the snot bubble coma, and then you can take control of him. And with the mole, you can dig through the dirt in kind of a swimming motion. The mechanics of it, I would say, are a little dig-duggy in nature, and you cannot jump at all in this form, but your walk speed is significantly faster than the frog, maybe even more so than Nemo, I would say. And also, I didn't notice it at first, but eventually going through, I think when I got the next one, I kind of realized, because I lost life that I didn't remember losing, or a meter wasn't full, and I was like, I didn't get hit. How did that happen? It's because each animal has its own HP level, which is really interesting as well. And in the case of this, you're going from, like, Nemo has 3, the frog has 3, this one has a 4th. So when you become the mole, you only have the 3 HP that you had as Nemo and the frog. And that is fucking, I don't know how I feel about that, because
I love it. I love it, but I love it now that I know that that's the case. Because at first I thought the same thing. I completely forgot that I forgot that whole thing. So I was like, wait a minute, I didn't get hit. Same thing. But then once I realized that, I was like, oh, I can take chances now with where I am and know that I can just like I'm fine having 3 of 4 life or 3 of 5 life. Because I know I have the possibility of just like going and getting some more. And if I lose this, I'm still at full health. So this is just like playing with house money. Like it's a different, it's a design choice that's different, but I like it.
Okay. Word. So yeah, you can grab the key that you could see from the surface, and then there's another carved out space in the dirt below, as well as a hidden area you can find an entrance to all the way down to the lower left if you dig over there in the dirt. And down in that hidden area, there's a 1-up, and you find yet another friendly, the lizard. And its sprite is extra cute on its own, I would say. And when you take control of it, you just jump on its back and ride him instead of turning into it. And I guess that's worth mentioning. I don't think I said that you become the mole. You don't ride that one either, but you ride the lizard, and it moves. It's got really quick mobility with the running, and it has a decent jump, not frog tier, but decent, and has a very cool ability to latch onto and scale flat vertical surfaces just by jumping onto them. And it cannot kill enemies. So again, it's just like it's amazing how many, I don't know, variables they were able to work into.
Also, it can go through small spaces that Nemo can't just like get under. Which is
true enough. Yep. That's also true. And yeah, so it has 4 HP too. So like the mole, that's 4. And when I saw, like, I don't know, a game like this where you have these these transformations, I was just shocked that that we had encountered 3 of them in the very first level. I didn't. It completely took me by surprise. I expected it to be. Usually these things, it's like the whole level, like I thought of like Altered Beast is what I thought of, like where you literally the whole level is designed in a way to impose challenges on the skill that creature gains you, the whole thing is designed that way. And it's not that they don't have that there. The stretch of the level that you become that thing often has some difficulty built in that both is helped and impeded by having that character, So it's not that it's not, acknowledged and well implemented. It's just, I don't know, there was, I guess, just more of it than I expected, and that was interesting and cool. Go Capcom. So when you exit this area to the right where the lizard was, you are transported up top of the large mushroom that's just to the left of the mole's location, where that dead end is no longer a dead end because the wall scaling ability the lizard has to run up it. So we haven't mentioned them yet, but there's also some health pickups here. There's little vials that restore 1 health point, and then there are doctor bags that restore full health. And and I don't know. There are some times in the game where HP is an issue, and these things are not omnipresent enough to keep you alive, even if you're a little reckless. But generally speaking, HP is not your difficulty here. I don't know. I guess it's hit or miss, I suppose. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. These things are they're not scarce though by any length, I would say. You see plenty of them around. But I guess maybe the flip side of that is you also get fucking whacked often enough that, you need them to be.
Yeah, getting whacked is an ever-present danger.
Yeah. So on the other side of that wall, you have another frog change, and then back to the lizard, peppered into some very harried action platforming and belly flopping, in my humble retro gaming opinion. And I got pissed off already here, man. Like in the very first level, I was muttering mean things. Yes. This is definitely, not a Kid Glove difficulty Capcom venture. Like, yeah. As I was already pissed off, and that would hold true throughout my experience playing this game. But even in the very first level, I had instances of it.
I did not have that. I grabbed the frog power up and immediately had like happy, nostalgic vibes and was like good to go. I like flew through this level. This is great.
I did not fly through. Yeah. So okay.
But I went all the way down with the digger. Like I just naturally kept digging, so I went through the bottom, got the one up, and circled back. Like yeah, so it was pretty simple.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know. So I don't think I got the 6th key. I had to double back. Like I found that door. And so the door, like the end of every level is this. It's like a normal looking bedroom door, and then next to it is a stack of blocks with keyholes in them. And in the first level, it's 6 of them. And when you walk up to the door, the blocks disappear one by one. The little clear music ditty plays. Drop that here, and then it cuts to a black screen with Nemo asleep in his bed, center mass. And you get one of those little interstitials. So the first time I ran up here, I hadn't got the one where you had to double back up onto the little hill there. So you get there and like just 5 blocks go away, and you're like, fuck. Okay, so like I gotta go. Yeah, we gotta go do more game. And it was I don't know. You know, that's like that's as much of an emotional response as you can expect to get out of a platforming 1990 video game is like, okay, I think I beat the level. Oh fuck, I didn't. So like that was good. That's again,
gotta love that, man.
A good experience. Okay, so down below when you're doing the little Nemo asleep interstitial, in this case, the text reads, "Wake up, Nemo. How many times do I have to call you?" So each one is kind of like the vibe of it takes us back to the real world out of Slumberland, and his mom is bitching at him in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Always, Nemo, get up. What's going on with you?
Yeah.
Every time.
So we move on to Dream 2, Flower Garden, and this stage looks fucking awesome. It's purple sky with mountain range peaks here and there, pink and white flowers everywhere over tall green grass. It's on this cobblestone path. It looks great. And you have another Walmart greeter in this level. It's like a purple cat type thing. This one said...
No, this is like a... What is that? What are those things called? What are the things that eat out of your garbage thing? You know, not raccoons.
A trash panda?
It's a trash panda, basically. I don't know. It's like a cross between an armadillo and I don't even know what this thing is. It's definitely not a cat though.
An anteater?
Like no, it does have the snout though, but kind of. I don't know. It's definitely. I love that you call them Walmart greeters. It's definitely a magical, fluffy, like anteater creature. I don't know.
Okay. I've never had anteaters in my garbage, but we live in different
armadillo.
We live in different regions, so whatever. I did not know the biodiversity of Seattle was so great.
That's not it, oh man.
So anyways, this trash panda says, "Hi Nemo, this is the Magic Flower Garden. You know, my friend Oopie wants to meet you. He lives under the water."
Who is Oopie? Let's go.
Yeah. So you immediately are presented with some water after that, which Nemo can swim in, thankfully. And he's got a pretty nice breaststroke for a little kid, probably better than I can muster as a 41-year-old man. And Oopie is right down below if you swim down there. Mm-hmm. And I was not smart enough to do that though. I kept going. Even though that person just said go down below the water, I did not go down there. So I had another double back situation. Mm-hmm. But I did eventually catch on, and yes, Oopie is right down below if you swim down there, and I'm pretty sure Oopie is a Teletubby. It looks like a Teletubby. Which had not been invented yet, as far as at least I guess I did not take the time to Google the history of Teletubbies, and Teletubbies are definitely something that could have been in Japan in like the 70s, and I not know. So
you're saying Teletubbies bit off of Little Nemo? I believe that.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Weird designs.
Yeah. And Oopie says, "Hi Nemo, you're going to need the lizard's help to get through this next area. Look in the trees for him." So this is just like it's the only time in the game where it does this too, and I think that's interesting. But you know, you're told to go one way by the Walmart greeter. You have to go do that, and then you're like aware to keep an eye out for something that later on I think that's what happened. I think I went forward. It didn't even cross my mind to go up into that tree.
Oh.
And I had to go back. I'm pretty sure I got that far. I don't think there's an impediment prior to that. In any event, you need to, yes, go up this tree that you might not think to do without this instruction. And again, just more. It's funny. It's very DuckTales-y if you think about it. I hadn't made that connection, but DuckTales has this where you have these little random people placed here and there, and they give you little tips about what you need to do to get to a certain part of the stage you might not think to try yourself. The mirrors and shit like that, So
that's funny to me because as soon as they said Oompy wants to meet me underwater, I was like, do they mean literally? So I just swam down. I mean, I guess I figured that from the get-go, finding that gopher at the first beginning where you keep digging down. And maybe it's just because I played this game and I remembered how it worked. I was like, oh, this game, you have to like jump in holes and go in places that like, maybe and just see what's there. Yeah, off screen and kind of find out what's there. And so I just naturally did that. And I was like, yep, they literally meant underwater. Got it. Now I'm going to the trees. And so it was like a helpful direction in this adventure.
Yep. So you have to, navigate past your first snake enemy, to which to this game's credit took much longer to encounter than the first of many 1990 action platformers. Like getting that snake enemy is like, I don't know, baby's first enemy in an action platformer. So they did a good job of staving it off until into the second stage, and I was surprised.
This level felt like the difficulty definitely increased over the first one because of those snakes and stuff. Like you know what I mean? The snakes and like the flying helmet bees or whatever they are. Immediately, like I'm like, okay, I'm on my toes right now, right?
And then we'll get to them here in a second. But the thing I hate most in this fucking game is in this level too. But yeah, before you get to those, you encounter your first taming opportunity in the level, the gorilla. And you throw him the candy. His coma posture is falling down onto his belly with his ass sticking up in the air, and he's still got the snot bubble coming out of his nose, so it's safe. So I think I ascertain that that's the universal indication that is the case. And this is a Nemo riding situation again. The gorilla walking on his knuckles. He's got pretty decent speed, solid jump, can punch oncoming enemies and banish them, which is a nice skill.
An attack. There we go.
Yep, and a whopping 6 max HP. And that's great, but it really sucks when you transform into a higher HP animal and don't start with the max HP. Like that's, you're getting 3, and you're only going to be this thing for a few seconds. Like you're never going to get 6. So it's not.
That is the thing. It's well, that also made it. I guess that's what I was trying to get at before. It also made it simpler to not try to go for extra health and worry about that when I knew I was going to just drop right back down. Like, I was going to be a different animal, like, 30 seconds from now. I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. I'm not even worried about the extra health.
Yeah, that's true. And that's, for me, that's great because I'm so fucking conservative with these video game plays that, like, I am trying to... I want max HP at all times, for sure.
Because you never know when you're going to need it.
Right. But, yeah, that certainly... It reduces the significance of that in your play, for sure, because, it is a fleeting thing no matter what. You don't know what enemy... Or you don't know what... thing you're going to, you don't even know what they're so random and all over the place that you don't even know. Like I said, in this case, like you're only this gorilla for nanoseconds basically before you're moving on. So like you just never know how long you're even going to be this thing. So there's no permanence to it, and in turn, that aspect of your resource pool is not as important as it would normally be.
But it is fascinating that there's only like 6. Well, I guess there's a few enemies. Yeah, there's only like 5 or 6 enemies. You know what I mean?
Oh, enemies or
like actual enemies. Like there's only a limited amount, even though they come in waves and they're random and they get on your nerves. There's not that many enemies.
Yeah, I didn't think to jot them down. Is it really that small?
There's only 5 in the manual.
Yeah,
you have the flying fish, the army ant, the floating fiend, the snail, the stumper.
Yeah, I didn't even think to place that in the game. I just assumed usually these manuals there's more enemies than are in the.
But maybe you're right because the snake. I'm like, is the snake one of those that we just saw? Yeah, maybe it's not.
So the snake's not in the manual. Yeah, so there probably is more. I mean, just over the course, there's just so many levels that like I said, I wasn't really because there again, you're just avoiding everything. Like there's no. I don't know. There are some, again, my fucking nemesis in this game. I would eventually learn a tactic to make them more easier to cope with them. So it's not to say you don't have to pay attention to what they are, but you can't kill anything, and you are better off. You have to just avoid everything. So there's I would say a reduced significance of what the enemy is, and more so just avoid everything.
Just get rid of it. Yeah, like you're not. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you take this gorilla and you need to use the gorilla to climb the tree, and I got real pissed off here. And this was the first time I had to turn the game off, walk away, take a fucking break. So you're scaling with this ape, so you're stuck to the surface. You can't. The thing about when you're scaling something, this is applicable to the lizard and the gorilla both, and the mouse too. Actually, that you'll get later. You're stuck to the surface. You move pretty slowly, and you can't attack when you're scaling. So in this case, they send those flying fucking things at you that are like constantly while you're climbing down the tree. And I don't know, what the fuck are those things?
Floating fiends.
Yeah, is that what that's what they're called? And that's a perfect name because they are just twats, man. So they're white powder puff balls, little faces of doom hanging down below them. They kind of make me think of dandelion pollen.
They are with like little evil skull faces, like haha, coming to kill you.
Right. So they're fast as fuck and they're heat seeking. So tactically avoiding them is near impossible when you're stuck to the thing, because I wouldn't learn this until later, which is this is how you deal with them. But their movement pattern, like once they get to your vertical scan line, once they're directly above you, they will just lock into a straight drop down motion, and that's what you got to do to avoid them, is to get them to lock into that and then move.
Jump up. Yeah.
Right, but the thing is, on this fucking tree, you can't do that because you're stuck to the fucking tree. And the way to do it is you can like jump off onto one of the branches and run over, but it's really fucking hard to do to time out right in this case. And they do put some health on the tree as you're climbing, so I think they are aware that this was difficult,
like
and
this is going to suck your first time getting used to
it. Right. It's a little bit of help, but it's not enough to keep you alive. And because like I said, you're not fucking max with this gorilla. You're 3 when you get it because you were Nemo before it. So yeah, this was just a really, really, like, it's short. It's like it's only like, if it's done right, it's only like
you're not even climbing. There's like 3 branches, 2
right,
on one side, 1 on the left.
Right, yeah. It's only like, it should only be like 7 seconds of your life, but I spent way more time on this. And yeah, it was very frustrating.
Dude, what you had to do was like stand on the middle to far side of one branch and wait for the fiend to come in frame, and then kind of jump up, like do a shallow jump up so that it locked onto your vertical, and then ran and like as far as you can jump on and try to climb up, and then immediately jump off again.
Yeah, to get to the
easier
next one.
said than done.
Yeah. They come onto the screen so fast, man. Like it is like the second the other one leaves the screen, the next one's coming. So you have there is no true. You have to create the breath by getting it to do that lock thing. But again, like I didn't have that nailed down yet, and it's always on the screen, there's always on the screen. So you feel like if you don't know that, if you're not able to depend on that mechanic because you don't realize it yet, it just seems like you're getting swarmed at all times is how it feels.
You're just like, ow, ow.
Yeah, very frustrating. But the lizard is up there as Oompy promised you, and there's also a key there. So you grab all that shit and then buzz back down the tree to an entrance to a cave area where you have to use the wall clamping skill of the lizard to wall jump. And I would say think Batman wall jump, where you literally like have to drop down onto the wall and then bounce off of it or springboard off of it to get through some spikes to get to a new thing, the Hornet. And the Hornet can of course fly. The mechanic is a tap of the A to gain a little elevation, then it falls. So it's kind of just keeping your head above water kind of feel to it.
Yeah. If you stop, you're screwed.
Yeah,
like you gotta know where you're going and know the amount of A to press, because once you kind of give it enough of that break, you're dropping.
Yep, yeah. It's not infinite. You have a finite amount of time. Even if you can just hit the button constantly if you want, but eventually you run out of that, and you'll just fall and die. So that's again, there's always a little give and pull give and take with these creatures. So the Hornet's got 4 HP, and you wear a Hornet suit. You're not riding the Hornet, so that's the look of it. And from there, you have to fly back up out of the cave and avoid these. And it's funny actually watching the playthrough here. And I bet you did it this way because you mentioned it when we talked about the lizard at first. There's like a thing you can run under to the left and just get into this part. I got into this part of the cave this is why I had to learn that wall jump thing, is I went all the way up the hill and then down past those spikes.
Really?
Yeah, with the lizard's wall jumping to get to the Hornet from the right instead of coming at it from the left after using, because I didn't know that little lower ceiling thing I could do with the lizard, go underneath it with the lizard yet. Or even if I might not even have tried that. I might have just went that route either way. I might not even have tried to do that. But either way, I went down into the chasm and came from the right to the Hornet.
Way. Wow.
Yeah. So again, the fact that
there's
non-linearity, impressively so, in this game. So you fly back up out of the cave, you avoid these crazy-ass raven mama bird things carrying a baby basket, and they toss, like the baby's tossing out egg bombs down, and you do some meter flying up against the spikes overhead on your way to one more switch, back to the lizard before hitting the door at the end. And yeah, same thing here. I was 1 key short, and I had to turn back and fucking look for the 6th key. So
before you go down into the water?
Yeah. So exactly. I learned here that both the Hornet and the lizard will drown if you go into the water. So you have to, it takes a few seconds, and their animation kind of fully conveys how unpleasant they find it. They're like freaking out, and then you turn back into Nemo. And so this took a lot of exhaustive searching. I horneted all the way back to the stage, looking for the 6th key. I horneted all the way back to the stage start and up the tree again. And yeah, the key that I missed is in another cave down below a small lake. Yeah. So yeah, you have to. Is that the one where you had it goes into a new area? You go to the end of.
This is in the middle, so it's a fun tell because you can either be jumping over the water or swimming in it, but either way, it's water with ground underneath it, but then the water goes down. So you're I can follow that water down someplace.
Yeah, so I think it's in a later stage where. Well, I guess we'll just wait till we get there. But yeah, there's another one that really fucked me with doubling back, and it took me forever to find it. So the interstitial here has the mom saying, "Nemo, why are you out of bed? Get back to your room this instant." And yeah, he's actually he's out of his bed, standing next to it instead of sleeping in it this time. So all of them, he's kind of he's either at the end of the foot of the bed, leaning, or standing next to the bed, or sleeping in the bed. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Story-wise, again, seeing the movie too, it's not like that's a thing in the movie. It's not like his mom trying to get him out of bed. He sleepwalks.
Yeah. In
the movie, and there's a scene where he's doing something stupid, and his mom's trying to get him to wake up while he's sleepwalking. But it's not. I can't recall it being a thing where he's sleeping in the bed and he won't get the fuck up, and she's bitching at him. So I don't know. I don't know.
I got the feeling from these that they just needed they wanted an attempt at humor,
right,
with a consistent theme. You know what I mean?
Sleeping.
So it's just kind of this thing you're trying to get him to wake up from these dreams, these whatever's going on.
Sure.
Shake him out of his sleepwalking slumber or whatever. But I was all right, I get what you're going for. Haha, whatever. Good attempt.
Reasonable take, Jay. Reasonable take. So we're moving on to Dream 3, House of Toys, and this is a very colorful playroom vibe, purple, green, and blue palette, and they use what I would say are bootleg Legos as platforms and obstructions. That's pretty fun. And then there's doll houses, there's a train set, just all sorts of toys and shit. So when you hit the train, which looks fucking awesome, it's it slowly begins, you jump down onto it, and it slowly begins to start chugging on the tracks, and I did not see that coming at all, so that was so good. Yeah, I did not expect the train to start moving once I jumped on it. I figured it would just be another set piece, So, little subtle, unexpected things, good game design. And yes, so this train starts moving, and now we are in an auto-scroll situation, so they, of course, introduce walls that you have to jump to avoid getting crushed against the screen left on the scroll. And they have toy biplanes up above that kamikaze down at you. So there's a bunch of enemies. Yeah, these are the only time you see these. So you have the toy biplanes kamikazing down at you, and then parachute suspended bombs that drop as well. So you're avoiding that shit while you're riding the train. And as you go through this, you're doing it all as Nemo, which makes it easily the longest span in the game so far where that's the case, where you aren't switching into animals. So, again, just incredibly varied gameplay, good game design.
I was like, all right, you've been able to take advantage of all of these little extra characters. Now let's test your chops.
Yeah, as Nemo,
is.
right. Yep. And yes, this train bullshit goes on so long. Like, way too long.
This is very Mega Man, this stretch, especially when like the piston things are coming down while you're riding it and the blocks are flashing. It might as well be Mega Man. The whole thing. Yeah, even the sprite, like the way you have to squat down below the spikes.
Right.
Like, I swear, if you pause it, it looks like Mega Man. Drop a blue helmet on him, that's what we're talking about. Like, it's just, I love it. Chef's kiss. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But very, very, very difficult. This one took me a really long time. And then, like the real shit of it. So, like, and in hindsight, I'm glad they did, because if it would have needed all of them, maybe I didn't get them all. I don't know. I probably didn't, because I was so certain. After my experience in the first 2 stages where I didn't have enough keys, I was like, I'm getting every one of these keys.
Yes.
So that, of course, increases the difficulty exponentially of playing through this, because especially towards the end, those last few keys are like in real fucked up places. So I rolled up to the door this time, and I had extra keys.
Dude, I had 9 keys also.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we... Like, did they... It makes me wonder if they thought, like, when they were playing this and testing it, it was hard enough that people would just be missing keys a lot as is. So maybe...
Well, for sure, because it's auto-scrolling. See, it's the only time you think about it. Every other stage, you can backtrack. You can't backtrack here. So... It makes perfect sense. It was smart. Like I said, I'm thankful they did it.
But it didn't feel like it was tough. I was going to say that it didn't feel like they needed it, but like I felt the difficulty.
This was hard as fuck. Yeah, sure. And that's, I mean, if again, there's no way to know it, so it almost doesn't matter. But like, I wish I would have known it, and I could have got through this stage a lot fucking faster and been much less frustrated. So pros and cons.
Like
to
if it was a key counter, like 3 of 6, 3 of 9. So that you just
exactly. Yep.
You just rolled up to the door every time here, like fingers crossed. I hope I'm good.
Yeah. Which is how it should,
especially with a non-consistent like key count every single level. You just don't even know.
Right. So the interstitial in this case is Nemo on his knees at the end of his bed, and the dialogue here is, Nemo, what are you doing? Go back to bed. So this time he's up. She's bitching that he's up. So she's got it. You can't get it right. Can't get it right. Mom has fucking mom can't make her happy. Fucking most demanding mom ever.
He's supposed to be sleeping, and he's like up, like riding, like he's bed knobs and broomstick style, like flying in bed.
Yep. So the 4th dream is the Night Sea, and this is the background behind me is from this. It's really beautiful. Like this is all probably my favorite stage music too. Very spunky vibe to it. I'll drop it here since we ended up not using it.
I almost did. I did remove it, but it's like, it's so good.
They're all so good. So yes, the aesthetic here, it's got palm trees swaying in the starry night in the background, some grass on a cliff. This one has a Walmart greeter, and this is also kind of cat-like, I suppose. Not clearly any one thing, though, I would say. It's just kind of like these nondescript, fantastical creatures.
Yep.
This one says, hey, Nemo, if you share your candy with the hermit crabs, they'll take you where you want to go. And you hit some water right away that has you can see it again behind me, like this kind of shimmery effect going on at the surface, and I'd equate it to the bioluminescent plankton we get out here in LA every year, which is really cool. Yeah, it's like I think it's in the winter, and it's a fucking, I can't believe how much of a thing it is, dude. It's wild. Like, the entire stretch, like the highway that's on the beach, like people just like park wherever, and like you have to go out at night to see it, obviously, and it's like it's not like right at the water, it's like a little bit out, and it's like, dude, it's fucking wild, man. It is just this shit in the water that's just like sparkling fucking everywhere, It's fucking really, really crazy and cool. Yeah, it's like a huge event every year. Like I think Amy found it on the fucking TikToks or some shit she saw fucking on the internet, so she knew about it and she mentioned it.
Yeah.
And then like some other friends of ours that live in Playa here, like the next night we're like, are you guys going to see the plankton? Like it was like, like fucking the fucking circuses in town. Like, are you guys going or what? It's like a fucking thing, man. Yeah, but it is very cool.
Give me the glowy plankton.
Yeah. So there's also some pretty purplish pink sand and coral down below the surface. So again, this is probably, I think, the most beautiful environment of any in the game. And just generally, I would say like this is the level that made me go, this game it's just beautiful across the board. So maybe the most in the system, just as far as like, because like there are games that look like Batman looks better, but it's not as beautiful.
No,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
As far as because it's just
definitely
a
that
darker vibe.
aesthetic. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So yeah, so of the warm fuzzy vibe games, this is probably the most beautiful on the system that we've encountered so far. Who knows? I didn't know this game was this good either before. Maybe we'll find another one that I didn't know between now and moving out of the NES. So you don't see any enemies en route to your first hermit crab, which is a cute little green dude just hanging out by some coral. And it's a riding situation in this case, even though the crab is pretty small. The hermit crab has 4 HP, it has a claw attack, and then it buries itself in the sand as a defense mechanism when you hit the jump button. And it stays under, and I didn't at first gather this right away, but you can scoot around into the sand kind of a la the mole by hitting a direction and the jump. That was the thing, like if you just hit the thing, you can just pop back out, but to move around under the sand, you have to hit the button and a direction.
Yep.
To do that. So you can work your way over to it's a pretty cool set piece, a sunken galleon lying just beyond that, and there's a hidden one-up area down below it to boot. And then we have one frog instance in this level as well, but otherwise it's just a Nemo hermit crab swap the rest of the way to the door. And yet again, I was one shy of the quota, a 5 spot in this case to get out the door, so it was back to the drawing board trying to find that. And this is the one, dude. So I racked my brain over and over trying to think of a way to get that last hermit crab up that long shaft to the area where you get in that last area. It's got a few fish in it and stuff, and you can get there as Nemo or the frog, and it looks like maybe there's some sand there. So I'm thinking I needed to get a hermit crab over there to dig down into that sand to find whatever the last key was. Not the case. So yes, I went back and I got the frog suit and I looked all over, man. And in the underwater cavern area, there's this little dead end. And like, it doesn't look like it's shit.
Oh, you missed that part? Oh.
Yeah, it just looks like a dead end. Like I swam past it a million fucking times. But I didn't think because there's no other instance in the game where this is the case, man. Like there's no fence testing like that.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, I hate hand holding, but man, there was nothing suggested this was the ticket for finding that key.
That is so fascinating. I swam naturally up to it and was like, I'm going to keep going to the end. Like, it just instinctively like, yep, I'm going to it. I went through it like multiple times, actually, like looping through it.
Yeah, this was, like I said, I had done it in previous levels, but this was easily the time that I spent just like fucking searching everything, man. I did not look it up, but fuck was I close because I just could not figure it out. Because again, it's just, there's no other instance of this where you just have to bump into a wall to find an area. There's no, like, at least in the case of the, like with the mole thing, like you can see it. You see that there's like a break in the bottom barrier and there's dirt you can dig through. Same thing with the sand. Like you go down into the sand, like, okay, like, I can dig down to that.
It's just a suspicious looking dead end to me, like, because you can see it as you're going. And
I agree.
Like,
but
why would you have me swim up this path and go up to a wall if there wasn't like a hidden door or something? You know what I mean?
I agree. In hindsight,
come on, Josh, come on.
In hindsight, yes, but man, I'm telling you, like I said, I swam past it a bunch of times and it did not occur to me. So,
that's great.
Whatever the case, through the door and back to the Nemo bed void. He's tucked back in and sleeping this time. What's gotten into you? You can't stay in bed. And yeah, I know the odds are low, but the literary snob in me wants to really appreciate the second sentence is intentionally not punctuated with a question mark but a period, which suggests to me the tonality that an annoyed parent would likely use with a kid that keeps getting out of bed and being weird.
Like I'm tired, Nemo. What
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah, I appreciated that a great deal. So yeah, we're halfway through the game now, and you know what we haven't spoke about at all?
What's that?
Jay? We haven't spoken about bosses or battles with them.
There's a reason for that.
Well, there is a reason for that, but I think it's interesting and certainly worth just having exchanging ideas that like the designer's willingness to completely ignore boss battle platformer culture in this game, you know. And it's Capcom too, which is like, you know, they're the forefathers of 8-bit platforming boss battles. You know, Mega Man is like the it didn't invent boss battles, but it invented boss battles being like the game loop, you know what I mean? Or such a big part of the game loop, and it's how you obviously obtain your tools, and like it's really the way the progress is gatekept throughout the game is these boss battles. So the idea that this game had so many harks to that, but didn't work it in here. And yeah, of course, yes, it like that's when we obviously get to that part of the game where you do start encountering bosses. It made it that much more significant and notable, and maybe even appreciating the fact that it didn't up to this, and that variance again, just so much varied gameplay is really cool. But it was funny to me how it just kind of popped into my head at this point in the game. Like, there's not a single fucking boss battle at all. That's weird, you know? Dude,
I feel like this is one of those titles that to me just feels very wholesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much like, let your kids play this. It's gonna be fine. It's a fun, fantastical adventure. And so when I was going through it this time, obviously not remembering a lot of the stuff from a kid, but you know, when I was a kid, but recalling it's I like that it's not the stock. You have to go, at least at the beginning, you know, like you have to go save the princess. It's like, no, I'm a little kid. I was sleeping. This magical thing happened and they want me to go to these dream world, but I'm not going to be like wielding a sword and like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be kicking ass when I'm like right. 7 or 8, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I like that you're just going around collecting keys and like joining these little creatures on an adventure. And as we'll get to later, you get to the point where it's like, all right, now I got to do something. But so I kind of appreciate that it's not like, oh, I have to go fight something every single time, when that narratively wouldn't really make sense, you know, if you put on your logical hat at all. It's a game, but like who cares? But also from the standpoint of this is technically and visually a lot like other Capcom games, like Mega Man. Like, I love clearly the Mega Man factor of beating a boss and then taking their power. Like, that's the whole thing, and that's great. But with this, it's like altered in that instead of beating a boss, the friendly person is giving you a power to use throughout the level. So like, there's enough of that similarity that you also want to break from the similar formula and have them go search for something instead of fighting. And so I think it does a really good job of taking those elements that helped make it a good, you know, successful brand and like doing something different.
Yep. I concur. And that's you kind of made me think there how the film, like the narrative of the film also does that. You know, like there is like, you are nerfed, I guess, maybe is a way to say it. Like, you do not have an offensive potential for so much of the or Nemo does not have an offensive potential throughout so much of the story, and then something happens where he has to man up, basically, and like he fucks some shit up, and he has to go to bat as a result of that. And I didn't think of how well the game captured that by having these mechanics, but I think that is a really good job of, again, capturing the IP, I think, in a way, even down to just like the game format, you know. So that's very cool, very cool, very good job, Capcom. After these messages,
we'll be right back.
Capcom introduces Little Nemo, the Dream Master. We tapped into your deepest, darkest nightmares.
Hold on, Eddie. I think we got something. This could be it. I'm getting snakes, wasps. Wow, look at this stuff. Big-lipped tadpoles. This kid's turned himself into a killer bee. These kids are strange.
Who dreamed up something so weird? You did.
This one's riding a purple lizard. Holy smoke!
Little Nemo, the Dream Master for Nintendo by Capcom.
You're gonna make a game out of this?
That is a 1990 U.S. market commercial for this game, Little
And
Nemo,
it
the
was
Dream Master.
Freaking terrible. Marketing team completely missed the mark, man. Like, this is a magical, whimsical, fantastical, like, kid adventure. And, like, you got the stuff of your worst nightmare. Like, it's just such a corny commercial. Y'all should have been fired for this.
Yeah, I agree. It was a little off base. So it's got the Capcom surveillance van rolls up on a kid's house with their dream scope, which is comically to me a huge video camera of the time, like a big news video camera, mounted on the top of the van. That is the furthest thing from incognito. So yeah, it's got that up top, and they roll up to the kid's house, and there's a team of fuckers inside that are marveling at the absurdity of the kids' dreams, which are like the kids in bed kind of tossing and turning, and it's, cutting to imagery from the gameplay, which, yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it just didn't.
I feel like you're missing the overall message of the game and the feel and the vibe, mate. You're just not getting it, yeah? That's how I feel, mate.
Yeah, I agree. Dream 5 is Nemo's house, and this is pretty cool, too. I mean, I guess the toy room kind of had this vibe, but not exactly the same thing. There was something significant about this to me. That, it's like you're at Nemo's house, and the dog he's very aggressive, just comes up to you this time. This is one of the instances where you don't walk up to him. He comes up to you and he says, "Nemo, I think we're in your house." And yeah, his house has a lot more wood paneling than I'd want my house to have. Nemo's house, but it is what it is, I guess. The stage goes vertical. There's lots of climbing to it, and a lot of that climbing requires bouncing your frog belly off those green flying bird things, chucking the rolly things down to you. And this mechanic fucking sucks. I fucking hated this part of the game. And yeah, I really, really went through it, finding that hole down in the basement in the lower right. Yeah, where you can get the lizard down there, which allows you to get the hornet. And as flying does in most games, that really unlocked some progression this level that alleviated some of the horrible things I was saying to my dog about it while I played it. But yeah, I had a really fucking hard time because that's just a fucked up area. Period. Like there's the enemies in this. It's like the monkeys with the plates, the spinning plates.
Annoying.
And they throw them like they fucking suck, man. They're everywhere, and you don't have. It's almost impossible to. The fire rate is so fast that you can't avoid them in a lot of, like if you get down. Yeah, if you get down onto a level that they're on, like you're not going to be able to jump enough or avoid them. And it's really fucked up considering you have no offensive capabilities so much of the time. Yeah, it's tough.
Dude, also, like, this is also the level that it really sucks when you're the bee and you're flying up to get the mouse. And so you get the mouse and you're up there, but you have to climb up the wall to go like break a brick, which we'll get to the mouse. But it's those same stupid floating fiends again, where like they're coming at you on the wall, and you have to keep. Oh my gosh, dude! Yeah. It's just like
I'll tell you, those are the bane of my existence, dude. Every time I saw those, I was like, "Fuck!"
Easily the most annoying enemy in the game, and then the
flying enemy it's always the smallest flying enemy in the game. That's the worst. It's always the worst.
Right.
Yeah. So we get that bee. You can grab the key that's on the chandelier. It's been taunting you the whole time you've been back and forth trying to figure that out. And there's up above that, there's like a hole, like the attic, I guess maybe is what it's supposed to be. And there's the chute that takes you up there. And then you find the animal or a new animal for the first time, the mouse. The mouse has 5 HP. You ride it. You're on its back, and you get a hammer to whack shit while doing so. So it can both jump and do wall climbing. As well as have an attack, so it's like that's why it's the last one. It's probably the most well equipped. Cool. Runs pretty good too at a pretty good speed. So yeah, the hammer allows you to smash the rolling things from the birds, which is nice, as well as break up a stone wall up above the chandelier that grants you access to another key and the way forward into Nemo's bedroom. And there is one last switch over there to the Hornet to, again, you have to like basically get to go down into Nemo's bedroom, get the Hornet, fly back up, and then deal with one of those fucking plate spinning monkeys. And again, it's a situation where like you are just going to take a hit there. Like you cannot get that key without getting hit.
Damage.
Yeah, it's entirely impossible. So again, maybe it lends itself. I am looking at this fucking playthrough right now, and there's a fish that you can turn into, and I've never seen this. I've never got this fish.
What?
There's a fish.
On this
level? Area there, on the night sea level, there's a fucking fish that you can turn into, and it allows you to swim much better than the frog. And basically,
wait, did I turn into the fish? Do I remember a fish?
Oh my god, dude! Oh my god, it's the fish that are hanging out by this shipwreck. Unreal.
Really?
Yeah, I cannot believe I never turned into the fish.
Did I turn into the fish? Oh, I did turn into the fish.
I did not turn into the fish, motherfuck.
You said that and that like freaked me out. I'm like, do I remember because we didn't talk about it? I'm like, yeah, I definitely turned into the fish. But then it was kind of like, all right, I was the fish for a second. I'm going back to the frog and getting.
It's got 5 life too, and it swims way better.
Way
oh my
fast,
god!
Yeah. You never grabbed the fish at all? Yeah, it's not really used that part. Like I said, you use it for a second, but you clearly don't really need to. You know what I mean? It's just a nice guy there. You can kind of optional friend.
Interesting. Anyways, so you gotta fly to get that key, come back down, and then it's a 7th key. You need 7 keys to get through that door. Then you're back in the void, and the mom says, again, what does it take to get you to just sleep before you move on to Cloud Ruins, Dream 6? And here you start on the roof of the house, of Nemo's house, I presume. And the Walmart greeter here is a green werewolf type. He bum rushes at you just like the dog did. And he says, I've heard there's a ruined city in the clouds. So you start rooftop hopping from here. You do some moving cloud platforming, of course. And all those, cunt dandelion pollen pricks come back here, floating down from above. I hate them so much. If you luck into surviving through it, you can cop the Hornet. And with that dude, you do this. It's again kind of just a whole new game type. It's an auto-scrolling vertical situation where you have to use the Hornet to, you're flying up, you're vertically scrolling through the clouds, there's enemies, what have you, blah, 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 blah. And you have to use these little small cloud platforms for the breather, because you can't fly forever with the Hornet. So you have to strategically land on those for a beat before they get clipped off the auto scroll, so you don't run out of flying power, and it's not at all easy.
Dude, I died a lot here. And can we talk about for a second the fact that when this auto scrolling part begins, there's a frog at the bottom. So you're encouraged, you're enticed that when you come upon a new person, let me try this. And you do it and immediately die. It's like, I cannot use the frog here. Why are you giving me this frog here? It is.
It's just a decoy of sorts.
Right? Yeah. It's like, here, I'm here. And if we join together on this adventure, we will both die.
So up top of that is a dilapidated... or rather, the dilapidated city the werewolf mentioned, and you have to ignore a decoy frog up here too. Like they also put a frog here that is of no benefit to you, and use the lizard to squeeze under this low ceiling to the next area. And there's a little bit more rooftop platforming from there, and they kindly just it was so nice of them, really, if you think about it. They just kindly line up all 6 keys in a row on a slide that leads right down to the locked door, needing exactly that many, So there's, you go through this whole thing. There's even auto-scrolling portion that they could have made some keys that you have to get and make that even harder. So they skip all that dumb shit here, and you just get the keys at the end and then go through the door.
That's so good, because you have the auto-scrolling down, and it's so tough as it is. It's like, you've finally made it here, You've proved yourself. I very much appreciated that.
Oh yeah, I don't fucking look at the Hornet can shoot. How do you do that?
What are you talking about?
The Hornet can shoot a stinger.
Since when?
since I'm looking at this fucking playthrough.
I didn't shoot stingers with the Hornets. What do you mean, sir?
Me either. He shoots it out of his ass.
How did I not?
I don't know, man.
It's got to be some different button combination. It's not just B, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we would have figured, both of us, the fact that we both didn't do that.
It's crazy, yeah. That's wild.
Like, is this, or are these things that we realized we could do? But no, because I would have definitely used another attack with him. But with the B, it's always like, let me fly and get out of the way. Like,
yeah.
That's what we're doing.
No, he can shoot shit. No shit. Wild.
Crazy.
So back in the bed void, the mom says, "Why me? Do everyone else's kids give them this much trouble about sleeping?" I don't know. Nemo's mom is a real gaslighter. Dream 7, topsy-turvy. You start here in an interior space where you can see windows upside down on the background, so topsy-turvy makes sense. You'll soon see tables and chairs upside down the ceiling too, and everything you know is backwards. I just played fucking Marble Madness yesterday, just fucking around for a bit with my NES. This whole level is just kind of reasonable and fun, maybe the first in the game, and it requires thought and exploration, but no real dumb shit, you know. A lot of Hornet, maybe a little bit of Mouse and Frog, 5 keys and we out. Like there's no, I don't know, I just felt like it was a very relaxed experience. And I kind of feel like this main area of the game did this, you know, where you kind of like, even like 6, the keys are at the end, you just slide down, you're out of there, and then 7's kind of just a fun experience that really isn't that hard, I don't think. I kind of feel like that they had the same, like if you put that on a line graph or a data plotting, like it's got the same curve in the boss rush thing. Like the end of the boss rush is kind of the same. Like at the very end, it kind of eases up after some really hard shit in the middle, I think, you know. So it's just interesting to me that, I don't know, they kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that was intentional.
I find it fascinating that you say that, Josh, because I feel like I had not that experience with this level.
Really? You had a hard time with this?
I definitely, it took me a few tries, and then I missed a key at the beginning. Like I died several times on this level, and I missed a key at the beginning. So once I got to the end, I was like, what am I missing? So I had to end up like flying all the way back to the beginning. So for me, this one actually was a little difficult. Difficult. Yeah.
I didn't have much trouble with it. Fun. It's there's been so many instances. Yeah, there's been so many instances of it where, you know, again, you just, it's just so much more possible shit can happen than you would expect in a straightforward action platformer. It's wild. Anyhow, you get no black void this time with the bed shit. You are treated to a cutscene or slideshow with Princess Camille, and Camille says, "Welcome to Slumberland, Nemo. I am Princess Camille." Nemo: "Pleased to meet you. How come you wanted to meet me?" Camille: "The truth is, my father, King Morpheus, was kidnapped by the King of Nightmare Land." And it then cuts to a shot of the King of Nightmare, and he is badass, and that's what's behind me right now. Really cool sprite art with this dude. And Nemo says, "What's Nightmare Land?" Camille: "It's the land of bad dreams. The Nightmare King is plotting to take over all of Slumberland and destroy nice dreams forever." "Oh no." "Please help me, Nemo. Rescue my father and defeat the Nightmare King." Nemo replies, I don't think I can. I'm just a little boy. I can't play the Nightmare King."
I love that, man.
Yeah, and then it cuts to a shot of the King's scepter, and Camille says, "But this Morning Star will destroy the Nightmare King and his men." Nemo replies, "I don't know how to use a Morning Star. Who do you think I am, anyway?" Camille says, "Don't worry, this is the land of dreams. I can cast a spell on you so you can use it." Wow! And then it cuts to Nemo holding the scepter, casting a glow unto him, and I posted this picture. This is also a really good piece of sprite art that I like a lot. Yeah. Camille says, "Okay, now you can do it. You can attack or give away candies. You won't need keys anymore either. Please promise me you'll go to Nightmare Land and defeat the Nightmare King, please." "Okay, I promise." And then we are moving on into Dream 8 Nightmare Land. And I streamed my entire hour-long run through this level. That's on our Facebook page, and the boss battle vid is also in the show notes. I do a lot of cussing. It's not as much as I meant. Like I felt like I was really angry the whole time, and like even my buddy Andy posted a comment of like great amount of perfect amount of cussing that reminds me of my own personal battles with anger as a child and as a grown man.
Love that. Exceptional.
So like, I rewatched it, like wondering, like, oh god, was it really bad? But it's not that bad.
It's funny because I was definitely annoyed at the same things you were. Like even the like flying little bats coming down, like just yeah, man.
Yeah, and they'll do those fucking lava fire plumes. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we start here. The background it looks awesome. There's like these flashing purple pillars alternating with flashing. Jay, what are those?
Stalactites.
Correct. You quickly have to jump into some lizard action here for its wall climbing and jumping capabilities, and you see the first, not long after that, of what will be a reoccurring nightmare throughout Nightmare Land. Yes, the lava fire plumes. And the hitbox. The reason these are annoying is because the hitbox on them is absolute bullshit. And they're bigger than they are visually, which I'll listen to. It's fire. You can get burnt by fire without touching fire. Okay, fine. But in the vernacular of 1990 video games, this is not how it works.
It's like, it's like a T shape almost. It's like it's up, but then it's also out. So if you come up close, like thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be good here, you're still gonna get hit by it. Like so it extends further than you think it should.
Yep, and it's important enough. Every pixel counts with these things. You're often the lizard when you're dealing with them. Like, you only have enough time for the amount of time it takes to get across that thing before the next fire plume. So, like, yeah, it's a real
time to go, man.
Yeah, it's a real shit. It's a real shit of game design to make it that, to put you that up against it with those. It's very frustrating.
You can't be that mad when you have this a la Batman flashing, neon purple background going on though. Like I still, and even as annoying as that was, I was getting hyped. Like, yeah, look at it, let's go. You know what I mean?
It definitely, the aesthetic of all of this, they do a fantastic job of, making this. So yeah, this is obviously where the story turns, and you're going into this place that Nemo doesn't even feel like he can possibly have the power to overcome, and they do a good job of within that kind of kiddie world making it, which the animated thing did too. This kind of like really, really turns just enough without going overboard of like scary, but still in the story world. Not getting too serious.
Yep.
So yeah, your first stop on what you'll come to learn is a boss rush out of fucking nowhere comes after this area, and this is a giant crowned penguin that twirls down on raised pedestals to the right and left sides of the boss arena screen, and he spews little mini penguins that run around in the space between the pedestals, as well as make bubbles rain down from above, which is also it's a Mega Man thing for sure. And I just thought, should point out here that it is very Capcom to go all the way through the game with 0 bosses, but still drop a boss rush on you at the end, right? So
I was very confused as to what was happening because I can't, you know what I mean? Like we had this guy, and I was like, all right, so he's the Nightmare King, like, you know what I mean? Like for a second, I forgot that of the picture behind you, so I was like, wait a minute, is this the bad guy? And then.
Well, I totally, because I had seen the anime thing, so I knew that was the Nightmare King, immediately identifiable as such. So great pixel art job. So yeah, I knew it wasn't that, and I was I was like, fuck, this is the fucking, like, why do they not have the dude? He's fucking awesome looking, So yeah, so I was just bummed out because I thought this was the final boss.
Okay.
Like I said, it was not even. I could not. There was no scenario where I could have expected that there would be a boss. I could not have expected it less. So yeah, to me, I thought I was fighting the final boss, and that's interesting because it's not the fucking thing I expected it to be. Okay, so yeah, I would die fighting this cat probably maybe a half dozen times, cussing about Nemo not having any offensive capabilities the whole fucking time. So like I keep dying, and you can see it in the fucking playthrough video. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like I can't. The candy, I can't tell. It's not giving me any response to it at all, like damage feedback. So I'm like, what the fuck, man? And like, yeah, I mean, it just did not, I completely forgot it because there have been like I basically got up to the 8th level knowing I wanted to stream it and record it and yada yada yada, and I had a shoot for a few days this past week, Monday through Wednesday, so I waited to get through that before I started on Thursday or Friday, whatever day I fucking did this. And it's Thursday, I think. And yeah, so like I completely forgotten that I'd been given the scepter at all. So yeah, so like the idea that could be what I need to do is completely gone in my mind. So yeah, so I went through it a bunch of times before I was like, oh, the fucking scepter select. Okay, so now I get that changes everything, of course.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so you hit select, and he now has the staff in his hand, and it's got like a really cool charging mechanic and accompanying animation that I really like. If you watch the animated series, the way this staff is presented in the series, like it does a really good job of capturing that. How it's like taking all the power in Nemo's being to keep it wrangled while it's powering up and about to shoot. And it's the same way it plays out in the film, which is cool, I think. And there's a meter labeled beam in the HUD that charges, so you can see when it's at full power. And I don't know, I was never able to tell whether how much or whether, if at all, it being fully charged meant anything. I don't know. Mm-hmm. If you go by what the film suggests, at least with a Nightmare King, it should do nothing to him unless it's fully charged, but I'm not sure. I know I shot it plenty of times, and we'll get to that later, but again, there's no damage feedback, whether you're using the fucking scepter or not. So there's no way to know that, I don't think, unless I guess you count hits and then try some, after knowing how many, try unfinished charges to see if those affect him or not. I'm not real sure whether that works or not. But
it's hard to tell though. But for me, I just ended up going with just the regular shots on this guy. It took so many, I felt like, to beat the penguin. I would charge him at first when I could, but oftentimes you want to be able to hit the little mini guys and dodge the bubbles. So you're really just hitting him with the one shot or the tiniest bit of charge each time. Still took a while, but pretty easy to kind of take down.
Yeah, that's worth mentioning that. Yeah, when you're charging, you can't move, you can't even turn, so you can't change directions or anything. And yeah, you obviously you're basically helpless until you let the burst fire off. So that is, again, just another example of give and take, that you have some offensive capability now, but there are limitations to it. And yeah, so it releases the blast at this 45-degree angle that you're facing when you let go of the button. So in this particular battle, and I didn't know this at first, I would find it after many failed attempts, even once I realized I had the scepter, but you can take out the baby penguins with a simple whack of the staff.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crucial because you have to clear space to weave around between the bubbles. Otherwise,
blast, whack, whack, blast, whack, whack.
Yep. Yep. And it's somewhat challenging, but once you have a handle on all of the above, that you can kill those penguins, and then that allows you the freedom to move around between those bubbles. Not terribly difficult to do with the penguins gone. And then yes, once you're waiting for that to kind of run its course, you charge while you're waiting for the penguin to come down, blast his ass, then do the evasive maneuver. It's not really that difficult. But again, just there's no visual, and I didn't have, because I wasn't dumb enough to plug my microphone in properly, but I don't think there was any auditory cue either. Did you notice one that you would? Okay, so yes, there's definitely no visual cue when you do damage or you hit them.
It's just like a hit, like a whack, it's just
right. Yeah.
It's not differentiated from any other sound.
Exactly right, and it does. It has that little dust cloud thing that shows it hit, but that does not the enemy does not respond to it at all. So you don't know if it's actually doing damage. And
right, that's definitely a drawback. I was so annoyed at that. I don't know. I have no way to gauge what's happening.
Right, and you learn that with the penguins, so I guess you at least know that going into the later battles. But this first one, I didn't. I had no idea whether I was actually affecting it or not until it died. Which was not the greatest boss experience.
Yeah, Agreed.
But it did eventually die, and you get some traditional NES boss death explosions on an otherwise static sprite. Just like nothing happens to the sprite other than just some overlaid explosions, which is, I don't know, very Contra-ish or something. And the next area is similar in look, more gold, purple cavern stuff, and also requires a shit ton of Blizzard wall climbing action. And this is where the fire plume things really become a huge thing. So yes, they're coming out of all kinds of services, not just fire pits, So you're doing a lot of, where you're on the wall and you're like just trying to inch up to it. And this is again where like the bigger hitbox is frustrating because you're just trying to inch up to it. So because you can't jump when you're on the wall, you have to run. So you have even less time. Yeah, it's just really, really tough. And then they also introduce, there's a bunch of those fucking puffball things in here. So it's a really, what I would call probably the toughest stretch of this stage.
This is definitely frustrating.
Yeah. This is actually where you'd seen them enough times. So how many times, I don't know, 4 or 5 times you'd seen them already. This is where I finally figured out that thing where you could get them to lock onto you vertically so this is the first time I really figured that out and was able to implement a thing. God, or otherwise, I don't know how you beat this.
Game changer then. I'm sure I was like, breath of fresh air.
Yep. And then there's a swap to the frog in here too, where you have to take the lizard up, then jump down with the lizard, catch onto the wall below the frog there, get him to make the final jump up into that area that takes you out of this part. And then after that, there's another area that has rising and falling spike-covered ceiling, has some delicate platforming and ducking dance bullshit. And then there's also, and this really pissed me off, it's got some jumping out of water stuff going on with it. And I don't know, why is this always so hard in video games? It's like there's no difference. Like, I'm not doing anything different. Just sometimes he jumps high enough, sometimes he doesn't to get to the platform that you want to get to. And it's so fucking annoying that it's completely unreliable.
It's only in the water.
Oh my God! I'm watching this playthrough is just killing my soul, dude. You can use the scepter in the water to kill those alligators.
To just whack them?
Yep. Fucking prick. What a prick. Fucking prick. Oh my God.
I actually did that, but yeah, I when I fell down there once, I was like, oh, great.
I did not. That's why the jumping out of the water is so frustrating, because that fucker's swimming around down there. Oh, that's so annoying. Ugh, what a prick. Okay. So, you go through there, and then you get another area that's another boss arena, and in this case, it's I don't know, what is this? Like a flying sea ray, I guess?
Yeah, like a flying stingray. It's weird because it dive bombs you. And I was so confused as to what was happening right now, man. I was like, I just fought a giant penguin. What is this? So I was kind of at this point unsure if this was like just like another random enemy I was fighting. Like, I don't think I really caught it that this was like a boss rush. You know what I mean? I was kind of confused. But then I think after I beat this part, I kind of realized, okay, we were kind of just chilling, having fun in Slumberland. But now that we're here, like traditional levels with like little bosses. Okay, I got it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, this one I Mega Man. Like, you're going to Wily's castle, and now you got like creatures to fight at the end of each one. Yeah. You know, each level.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't. So yeah, I did not have a ton of trouble. It doesn't have any minions, thankfully. It's just the Sea Ray. Yeah. But he floats down, and when he does that floating thing, it at least tips you off. Like, this is your opportunity to attack. And he's got this fire attack where he rains it down below, but it's like a very fixed, finite width below him. So you can like stand on that platform in the middle and get to the edge of it usually, and just stand there and know that you'll be safe from how far the fire gets, you know? So you have a pretty discernible attack window, and you can keep yourself safe while doing it, you know? So that's nice relative to the first one, I would say, because the first one, you have to move under those bubbles no matter what.
This is super easy, except for when he dive bombs you. Like, if you get caught in that, that's pretty much the only damage you're taking is a dive bomb that you don't avoid.
Yeah, and that I would say is once you, he definitely got me a few times, but once you figure out the different ways that he can come in, which is basically 2 45-degree angles from above, or swooping through straight on a horizontal plane, but it's if as long as you stay on that platform in the middle, he's always flying below you. So really all you have to do is pay attention to when he's coming out of the corners and then make the move, So
then it's smooth sailing.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I didn't have a ton of trouble with this one. So back outside after that, and you get some cool, it kind of has a vibe like you're on this mountain peak now, and you can see all these other mountain peaks in the distance, dark clouds, lightning flashing and shit. And I believe that also is in line with the animated feature, so that checks out as a theory. Nice. And this is a lizard, hornet, mouse sequence that it was funny to me how quickly I cooked through this. It was just like, I don't know, like it's kind of, it's that, I don't know, it made me feel, and it may just be in my head, wanting closure and, I don't know, wanting to feel the narrative. Like, I felt like it was like a perfect implementation of all I've learned to date. You know what I mean? Like, just knowing, like, okay, the fucking salamander is in the lower right, the lizard's in the lower right. I'm definitely going to have to use that to wall climb up to the area above that I couldn't get to before. Straight to that hornet. Now, okay, I got the hornet. Now, I've been to both ends here. I know I'm going to need to fly back out with the hornet and go up that wall that I saw before. And up there, over there is the mouse. You get the mouse, jump over the wall, and ride that all the way up because you couldn't fly that high with the hornet, So it was just a perfect, like, I know all the skill sets of these animals. I know exactly what I need to do when I become them. It was a really satisfying culmination of learning to date that I really liked. You use that mouse to get up to the top of the summit there or whatever, and they do this really cool thing. So you're just going across these lava pits, and as you're going across them, you can see again that fucking the sprite of the Nightmare King that you saw in the slideshow before the level. Yeah. In the up there behind you as you're like slowly scrolling, almost parallax I would call it. It's not quite, but it's almost parallax scrolling of that in the background as you go through this
He's
sequence.
Just watching you, like just
just looming over. Yeah, really, really cool. I don't know. It's good cinema like game design. And so, so you get through that, and then you go into this final area that has very Castlevania Dracula approach vibes to it, where you have to climb these mountain steps up to a sheer cliff face, and you can't see a safe landing spot down below it, and you kind of just have to take this leap of faith that you're going to survive, which is, again, just really cool. Good job. And you jump down there, and like the floor has kind of like this very sleek,
Double Dragon-y.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, this very sleek, metallic, almost futuristic feel to it, relative to everything, like all the mountain shit that you gone through to get here. And there is an awesome boss battle theme. He comes sliding out from screen right. He moves on this horizontal. He never goes up or down. He just kind of slides out, and it's like a really huge sprite, lot of detail, really, really well done. Not at all. It's not just a repurposing of that other cool art that we'd already seen. So they took time to make two versions of them. Really cool. It's basically his upper half, or maybe, I guess, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure that he has legs. Really, come to think of it, but either way, that's all you can see is his waist up, I would say. Yeah. And so it's pretty slow, so you're not really at risk of being kamikazed into, I would say. Mm-hmm. But he moves back and forth, and he has two projectile attacks. He has these bursts of 4 laser beams that come from his back. He's holding his hands up in the air, and his back hand will shoot these lasers out from his fingers. And he does bursts of 4 of them, and they're always in this kind of dependable pattern where the first one goes furthest to the left, and then the next 3 go working to the right there, So you can kind of calculate how that's going to go based on where his sprite is positioned, and you can kind of dependably deal with that once you kind of discern that pattern. And then he also has this globby red mass that routinely floats out of his mouth and towards Nemo before stopping at a random position above before starting in on this like a semi-homing back and forth 45-degree flight path, and sometimes it'll just disappear off screen, but more often it'll get in your fucking way, moving back and forth when you're trying to evade the laser beams. So it took, this was, I always talk about, it's always my thing, like how does this, like, is this final boss battle as legit as it should feel? And they did a fucking great job with this. It was like 20 minutes of work to beat this dude, which is like the exact amount of time I think it should be. Yeah. Like spend 15 minutes of like figuring shit out, fence testing, and then 5 minutes of utilizing what you have discerned to be the best attack approach, and they I think it's just perfectly well done. And so well, let me hear yours. I'll be curious to hear if it's the same thing. We had so many different experiences. I'll be really curious to hear whether this is the same.
Yeah, man. I mean, for a relatively simple battle, it took me some time, but then, I was definitely feeling accomplished afterwards. Once, like you said, the flight path of the finger lasers, I call them, the furthest one also always came first. So as long as you stood, pretty far back, you could jump straight up, miss that one, and then you're back. You get back close and start blasting, So it was really kind of just about avoiding or hitting like the little red glob thing that got in the way. And I was pretty good. So like I said, it took some time. Still relatively simple, but I definitely still felt accomplished afterwards. So
did you ever, with that red globule, did you ever... How much of that thing's pattern did you take note of and use?
Oh, I did.
In your approach?
At first I kind of ignored it. Like, what happens? When I realized I could shoot it, I was like, "Oh, great, I'll shoot it." But at first,
it took me a while to pick that up. Yeah.
At first, I just try to ignore it, and then it would kind of float away, and then kind of float back at me. So then I was like, oh, I can't just. So at first, I just tried still avoiding it and keeping up my mechanic. And then I realized, I can hit it. I'll just try to angle myself in a position to where it just hits that and him, whatever, in the same path, So That's not always, like, it probably worked out maybe 85% of the time that I could just stay in the same position, do that. Otherwise, I kind of had to adjust a bit. But it probably took about the same amount of time, 20 minutes, to kind of test all those, learn all those things, and then just put it all together.
Okay. It's so what I ended up, I guess the best way I could describe it is what I ended up, like the key that the thing that unlocked being able to beat this fucker was, so I learned, because that red mass is there when he fires those beams, like it can't be, you cannot have that red beam there or that red thing there.
Yeah, you gotta take it out.
Okay, so where you want to shoot him from is you want to be as far left as possible. So you're as far left as possible, but still able to hit him with your 45-degree angle shot, right? So there's like this sweet spot that I would call maybe 3 Nemo widths from screen left that I optimally wanted to stand in to be able to hit him. Now, the thing about that is it's also a pretty good way to avoid those beams, or make it as simple as just a simple jump to avoid the one, so I'm trying to stay there. Now the thing that keeps you from doing that, of course, is when that fucking red blob comes into a flight path that hits that. So what I learned to do was if I would just, I'm basically playing defense until the globule comes to this one spot that I wanted it to be in. So I would essentially, if it didn't land there, I would just shoot it. I would immediately just target on it, get it out of there, and then try the cycle again until the next globule comes out and stops where I want it. And then once it stops where you want it, it's just doing that. Whether it goes behind or in front doesn't matter, but it's just going back and forth in a place that you're never going to be. You know what I mean? So if it was in that track, I would just stay there and just charge until I had the right blast opportunity, So it was literally like kind of just discerning whether or not I had gotten the win state presented to me. And then anytime that was not the case, I'm basically just tabling my fucking effort until the next opportunity that I have where it does, So it was very...
Exactly.
very binary, I guess, experiences. Either
I might have to jump up and hit that red glob, or I might have to shoot it from this angle. But either way, once I'm done, I'm back to the spot.
Oh, yeah, I never even thought to jump up and try to just whack it. I would always
one of the times that in the beginning where I just kind of let it go and I was like, I'm just going to ignore it. When I did know it would like homing and come back to me, I kind of just jumped like I wasn't able to kind of just get into the charging position enough, and I tried it and swung and hit it. So I was like, oh, I can hit these. I can hit the frogs.
Yeah, see, I never. That was the thing, dude. I never even. Again, I didn't even remember that I had the fucking wand until I got to the first boss battle. It never even occurred to me to switch to the wand outside of
I just kept the
boss
wand
battles.
permanently at that point.
Yeah, because the candy's useless, like I said, so that makes a lot of sense. That's funny. Yeah, no, yeah, it never occurred to me to try to whack it. I always shot it out of the air.
Yeah, I'm saying if I missed it or something, it was close. Sure. Yeah.
Fucking A. Okay. Well, yeah, that was it was a really hardcore, well done boss battle. I was fucking really impressed. Yeah. And you get the explosions on the sprite, and then it fades to black before the slideshow starts. And we start with that same drowsy looking Nemo. Yeah, we haven't mentioned that, but like it's like Nemo in these slideshows always looks the same. He looks like he just got out of bed,
right?
Even though that's not really the narratively applicable state of him in most cases, with the exception of maybe the very first one, or not even maybe
just the
very
artwork,
first one,
but it's great.
Right? And it's literally just them like we don't have the space to do two of these, so he's just sleepy. So you get this one, and he's talking to Morpheus, and Morpheus says, "How can I ever thank you, Nemo? You saved me and my kingdom." Nemo replies, "Don't mention it. I was just keeping my promise to the princess." Morpheus goes, "I know. I'll make you the prince of Slumberland." "Really?" "Absolutely. I bet Camille will be thrilled. Wouldn't you, sweetheart?" And then it cuts to Nemo and Camille. Camille says, "Oh, goody." And she just goes into this whole fucking thing. "We can play together every day. We can have picnics in the lollipop forest, explore the taffy swamp. I can teach you magic. Oh, it'll be such fun." And Nemo puts the brakes on that shit right away. And he's like, "No." He's like, "Your land's really wonderful and all, but..." Morpheus, "But what?" Camille says, "Can't you stay?" And Nemo says, "Well, I kind of promised my mother I'd wake up early every morning." And Morpheus goes, "Yes, it's important to keep your promises." And Camille gets extra bitchy. She's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And then and Nemo goes, "I better go home now." He's just trying to eject out of this shit after the bad vibes start. "And can I come back some other night at least?" And Morpheus goes, "Of course. You can visit every time you dream." And Nemo says, "Great. I'll see you soon. Bye, Camille." And then playing hard to get really makes her flip her script because she takes a second and she goes, "Wait, Nemo, don't go." And she comes over and she gives Nemo a smooch on his forehead, which Nemo doesn't entirely hate.
Shocker.
Yeah. And then we go from that to that lit night sky over NYC thing we saw at the very beginning. And it gives you the same airship passing over across the moon silhouette deal. And then we get that what's behind you, but the inverse of it coming down. So they use the same kind of all the artwork, but just give it a different animation. And then it cuts from that to we get the black card thing, and it says, "Nemo, rise and shine. It's a beautiful day." And there's a lot of good artwork we've already talked about in this game. This is the best of it by far. It cuts to Nemo. It's like a full screen deal, and it's Nemo leaning out his open upstairs window at his house, taking in the bright sunny day, and the title theme fires up below it, and the end credits start to roll there across below it. And the end credits are 10 codename credits. They have 1 game designer, 5 character designers, 1 music composer, 2 programmers, 1 executive producer, and 1 special thanks. And then once all that goes through, the music keeps playing, and the end appears in cursive in the blue sky in the top left of the artwork. And you can sit, which is the perfect way to do in-game good artwork on a really well-done video game. The music will just play as long as you want it to, and you can just sit and stare at that screen and run and grab your mom, run and grab your brother, talk shit to whoever you'd like, and show them what you accomplished.
Into the verdict. What is it going to be, ladies and gentlemen? Suspenseful? Is it up in the air?
It's such a good looking game. Sprite art is next level shit. I was shocked at how challenging it was. No kiddie bullshit at all, difficulty front, which is a good thing, of course. Music is off the charts. Capcom, full effect there. And the final boss battle was fucking perfect, man. Except like that one very minor gripe of the no damage feedback. But, I mean, that, the candy uselessness. I mean, did either one of us have another gripe besides those two things? I don't think you had any gripes.
No. I mean, other than that, yeah, it's kind of just like...
Yeah, it's like a fucking perfect video game. It's wild.
I
can't believe as a kid.
And very just like whimsical, but also difficult. Like you need to actually put some effort in and like pay attention to what's happening. And, you know what I mean?
Dude, and so many of the Lord disciples. Like, I don't know if we've had we played Batman, and I don't remember anyone saying shit like this. There were so many comments about like, on the boss battle vid, and then just like some of the artwork towards the end, where people are like, "This game is fucking hard, man. Like, I can't believe you're beating this." You know, and I can't remember a video game where there was that much of that feedback. You know, so I don't know, man. Is this the hardest video game on the Nintendo Entertainment System?
I definitely don't think so. I mean, certainly not. Certainly not. Even in like the podcast era that we've covered so far, no, there's definitely been harder ones. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, it definitely had some moments, but no, to me, in my opinion, nowhere near top level hard. Like, for sure, there were a couple of parts where I was like, oh, he's so annoying.
There are parts I can get why someone remembering experiencing it on OG hardware, because there are some parts where I save scum my ass off. There's no question about it.
That's true.
Some of that lava stuff.
Annoyed, yeah.
Yeah, some of that lava shit and.
Even some of the mouse stuff, man. I'm telling you, trying to hit the block.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. That sucked too. The first time I was trying to hit the blocks up in the attic, I was like, "This isn't fucking working."
Like, the hitbox here, like you gotta.
You gotta like
hit down.
You gotta have that. You basically gotta hit it at the perfect time. Maybe I'm spitballing here, but like at the very apex of the jump, so the swing is happening halfway down. To get the block in between the top, the apex of your jump and being on the ground, and and they usually would have those walls in places where shit's fucking with you, either things flying down on you. So that was a frustrating thing too. So there were some areas, no question, and some of those times when I had to backtrack and stuff, like, I died doing that too. So like having to do that and not just be able to hit load was probably rough. So, I can see why maybe that someone would think that.
But also at the same time, even for me, like the way I played now, where the couple times I would miss a key, like even if I went back and died instead of like save stating, I still would have just had only that one key remaining, and I could start over from that level and be like, oh, that. Yeah,
you know what? I never even bothered to let it run out of lives, so I don't even know what happens. You just restart. Yeah, I'm assuming you just start at the beginning of each stage, and you probably have unlimited continues, is my best guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of lives, so I didn't really.
Yeah.
Even while so. Yeah, never experienced that.
Yeah, I had 9 by the end of the game too, but that's because I was save scumming. So obviously that would not have been the case. We're not doing so. But yeah, I'm guessing there's no way it doesn't have unlimited continues, right? There's no way. There's no way it doesn't have unlimited continues. There's just no way. I hope not. If it is, by all means, weigh in, disciples, and tell us how fucking impossible this game would have been then.
I mean, but to me, did I have fun? Yes. Would I recommend it to someone else? Yes. Would I play it again, like with a remastered version, like an upgraded, updated? I would 100%.
Considering there's a movie coming, is it even vaguely possible that's not the case? Okay. Oh. It's got to be happening. There's just no way.
I would love that. I hope so.
Can they? I'm assuming they have an Aquaman movie, anyways. Can they even make a Jason Momoa movie without a video game? Also, is it possible? I don't know.
I don't know, but Little Nemo. I mean, come on now. Like I think they can do it, and I would love it. Somebody make it happen. If you're not.
VR. I'd play it in VR if you give me a VR.
Can you imagine? Oh, that would be really cool.
Nightmare King battle in VR. Oh, badass. Absolutely badass. telling you, we gotta get a fucking stable of VR developers for these situations. That
We'll just start our own studio. We'll be the executive.
right. That's what I'm saying. We still
creatives around us.
That zoom in VR thing is $1 billion idea, dude. We got to get that going.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, I don't think either one of us said it specifically, but I think it's kind of obvious. It's definitely a double blessing here. There's no way to argue it, I don't think.
Yes.
So that is that. Next up is GamePro 14. You can subscribe to the pod on the platform provided by whatever dumbest company that serves up your pottery. Please rate and leave positive shit for the podcast on that podcast platform of choice, or any other for that matter. The website is nyehentertainment.com/ISOHpod. You can email us directly at isohpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the pod on Facebook and or Instagram. There is a link to the YouTube gameplay videos playlist in the show notes. There's the ISOH subreddit if you want to get down with us on Reddit. And we don't have a Patreon, but if you like giving money to the things podcasters tell you to and would like to do so in our direction, the Able Gamers Foundation creates custom gaming rigs for gamers with disabilities, and that is cool as fuck. AbleGamers.org is where you can find them. There are t-shirts on the website. They're dope, and proceeds on those after pod expenses go to Able Gamers. We're rocking them. Jay, what's your socials?
Gentleman JB without the second E is my gamer tag. That's where you'll see me on the socials when I'm available, when I'm around. But feel free to invite me to a game. Let me know who you are. Let's do it.
I am on Twitter at Josh Folan, on Instagram at MyShiftKeyIsBroke, and my Oculus tag is MyShiftKeyIsBroke as well. See you in Demio on Thursday.
Woo.
Okay, bye.
Bye.